Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day. And we're up. Remi Warren, how are you, brother?
Yeah, pretty good, man. How are you?
What's going on? So we were talking last night when we were hanging out about your hand. So tell me what's going on with that.
Yeah, I just actually had a wrist surgery and just doing something stupid. I don't even know if I want to tell the story how I did it. It's so dumb. But I tore the, I guess tendons in there, stuff that kind of controls all that. So they went in, took some out of my
You're going to have to
forearm.
tell everybody now.
Yeah, I know. I was like,
what did you do?
Well, okay, this is the truth. Well, I don't even actually 100% know. But it was like, you know, when you just, I don't know, you get an injury and you think you don't even think about it. You just keep doing your shit.
Right.
And it was like last September. I shot a pretty good bull elk in New Mexico, and I'm skinning it out, and I couldn't use my hand very well, so I taped the knife in my hand and do the whole thing. And the guys that are with me are looking at me like, "That's not right, man. You should probably get that checked out." And I was thinking about it, I was like, "Yeah, I probably should." So I went to the doctor, and I was just thinking they're gonna say, it's nothing, and they're like, "This is a major injury. How long has it been like this?" I was like, "I don't know, 3 months or so." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, how'd you do it?" I was like, "I don't know." So they said it was consistent with a fall from maybe 10 feet straight onto your wrist. And I couldn't think of, I was like, I would remember that. They're like, "You would remember it." And I started thinking back, and the following January, I was duck hunting, and these mallards are coming in and pretty high up. So I shoot one, and it is probably I don't know, 30 feet up, flying 30 miles an hour, and it's coming right at me, and I think, I'll reach up and try to catch it out of the air so it doesn't hit me in the face, and bent my hand back, and I think that's what tore it, and then I just taped the fingers up and never healed right, and then a combination of that and then I was in BC this last year, hiking across a mountain, had the trekking pole, and my wrist just gave out and slammed into the hill, and that was kind of, I think, the last straw. It finally probably tore everything.
Oh, so you probably had it hurt from the mallard,
yeah,
and then
a combination fall, and then just overuse and gave it the rest. And so they just went in, opened it up on both sides, took that, drilled holes through everything, and then screwed it to a bone in my arm, I guess.
So do they use other tendons? Do they?
Yeah, there's these two cuts here. I don't know. One of the things I didn't want to do is research it too much because I was freak out. Yeah, I don't really want to know what's going on. I was sometimes the oblivious thing is a little bit better, but they took them out of my forearm here and then used those. They drilled, there's a bunch of little bones in here. So there's it's like an SL reconstruction kind of thing. So there's a bunch of little bones in there, and they just opened it up on both sides, essentially drilled through. So there's holes all the way through. Then they took those tendons, wrapped it around, and then screwed it to my forearm. But I guess when they were screwing it in, they broke a drill bit, and then they had to, and then they tried to get it out with another drill bit, and then broke that, and then they used the chuck key and a hammer to get it all out so they wouldn't leave it in there. So it's I think surgery, any kind of surgery, I think is pretty crazy to me. It's pretty barbaric in some ways.
Is that the first major surgery you've ever had?
First one. Yeah.
So you're 2 weeks out, is that what you said, from getting the cast removed?
Yeah, from getting the cast.
And are you just getting range of motion back?
Yeah, it's a little bit
it looks crazy.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I've been working on it. I kind of sit here. I'm actually kind of used to just pushing on it, trying to move it a little bit all day.
Do you have straps so that you can work out with your arm? So you don't lose your arm?
Yeah, I've been starting to do that for sure.
You ever seen those hooks?
Yep.
Yeah, those are great.
Yeah.
A lot of guys with hand injuries, they use those. So you can keep working out with your arm and you don't put the pressure on your hand.
Yeah, that's what I right after I got it off, I went to Home Depot and just made a bunch of stuff. But yeah, you with anything. I mean, this is obviously not permanent, but right now, well, I shoot my bow all the time, and when you're used to getting up and shooting your bow every day, and you can't shoot your bow, you start to. It just feels weird. So I just started shooting a mouth tab. So you just draw it back with your teeth.
Yeah, Dudley did that. John Dudley had shoulder surgery back in the day, and he switched over to the other arm because he had shoulder surgery on his left.
Oh, okay.
So he switched over to holding the bow with his right and pulling it with his mouth tab.
I think that would be more weird.
It's a lot of weirdness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're switching your hand and
Yeah,
and using your mouth.
limited himself, I think, to like 30 yards or something like that. He
Yeah.
didn't feel confident over 30 yards.
Yeah, it's like traditional bow hunting at that point.
He's got videos of him shooting animals. I think he shot a grizzly with a
Really?
mouth tab.
Huh. I'll have
which
to
is
check because I was
really
doing a little bit of
crazy.
research. A lot of his videos popped up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look at that now.
Oh, mouth tab research?
Yeah.
Well, he'll be here in a couple hours,
Yeah.
so you'll be able to talk to him.
I think
but-
he did it a little bit. I'm using like a leather piece. A friend of mine who shoots mouth tab, he got to be set
Yeah,
up with
there's
it. Oh yeah,
there's John. Yeah.
yeah. It's a weird. Oh, he's got like a dog collar kind of style. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I was thinking though, for some things, like if I'm like self-filming or solo hunting, I've got a free hand. When when your peep turns. I was
Yeah.
noticing that when you got your mouth tab, I can actually reach over and just adjust
Oh,
things.
that's nice.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Your peep, that's annoying, man.
It is.
The peep thing's annoying. I don't know why they haven't worked that out yet.
No, yeah. There used to be like when you first started shooting a bow, there was a rubber band that would go from the peep and stick on your riser, so it'd pull it straight every time.
Yeah.
It's kind of annoying, but it would keep it straight.
Somebody developed something that adjusts your peep sight. I think it's one of the Bomars. I think they had some sort of a thing that Josh Bomar's got a few things that he's invented that are interesting, like this little nose thing that
Oh, I've
touches
seen
your
that,
nose. Yeah, a lot of Cam likes that. He was using that.
Huh.
Dudley hates it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I think you get used to something, and
yeah,
then it's
exactly.
like
You get used to your nose touching the string.
You get used to
and that's
whatever
good
it
enough.
is, and then you just go with it.
It is funny, though, if you take time off of archery, you do feel like, man, there's something missing in my life.
Oh yeah,
Archery's meditation.
it is. Yeah, and when you do it your entire life too,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like this weird thing of. I'd have like the cast on, and you get into a routine of doing something, anything. And when I'm home, that's what I do. I shoot my bow, and I shoot it multiple times a day. So it's like every time I do, I've got like a target right out my back door. So when I'm at home, like, okay, I ate breakfast, I shoot my bow, and then I've got a range a little further away. So you just like, I would go and I'd grab the bow, and I'd look at my hand and go, oh shit, I completely forgot. This is going to be difficult. So
Well, I'm sure you've seen that one guy who shoots his bow with his feet.
yeah, that's incredible.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how he releases. He's not using a mouth tab, right? He's got some sort of a hinge style setup.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
See if you can find that guy. John coached him as well. Dudley
Really?
coached him as well. Yeah. He's, that guy's incredible. Like watching him do that with his feet, like, wow.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's got a
Yeah.
release on his shoulder.
So I think it's something he does where he like twists his head a little bit to release. Or maybe
Pulls
it's just,
back.
it might just be tension based,
Yep,
you know?
that's cool.
Yeah. I don't know how he's doing it, but it's pretty amazing.
It's really incredible.
Wild shit, man. People find a way. You know, if you only have your legs to use, it's incredible the kind of dexterity that people can develop in their legs. It's so wild. Like, look at him push back with the bow in between his big toe and his second toe. That's crazy.
Even just the hamstring flexibility, I don't think I could ever do that.
And strength to hold
Yeah.
your leg out there in that horizontal position like that.
Yeah, so it looks like he's like almost kind of got a back tension style release where he's pulling back
Right.
and then it
Yeah.
hits his chin kind of and
Yeah.
it goes off.
Yeah, it seems like he's got like one of those silverback type deals.
Yeah,
Something along those lines. People find a way.
they do.
Yeah. So your situation, do they think that you'll fully recover with your hand like this?
I don't know. I probably won't ever get same full range of motion, but
But you'll have strength?
yeah, I'll get the strength back. Should be pretty good.
That's good. You're already moving your hand, but like my friend Tom Segura had a pretty bad hand and arm injury, and his hand is not, that was over a year ago, and he's not fully recovered.
Yeah, I don't know. I
So
mean,
your hand looks pretty damn
I
good
just got to
compared to
keep.
his.
My thing is like just keep moving it.
Yeah.
Get that motion back because it's weird.
Yeah, that's got to be odd.
It is. Yeah, it's weird and like no feeling in part of it. So it's like that weird grip thing. You don't really.
I hurt my
realize
wrist boxing when I was like 22, and then when I was around 30, it was always nagging, and I got prolotherapy. You know what prolotherapy is?
it. No.
I guess whatever I've got is like some sort of a tendon issue, and they injected it's like a glucose solution that they inject directly into your tendons, and it inflames the tendons and actually makes them thicker and stronger. It's really painful while they're doing it because they're just multiple injections digging into that tendon and injecting it with this fluid. That I might be butchering like the actual mechanism behind doing it. I probably am, but it really worked. It had a
How
big
often?
impact.
Just like one time, or
I did it twice. I believe I did it twice in my wrist, but it never bothered me again. And like every now and then it'll act up a little, like if I do too much boxing work and I don't tape my wrists up properly.
Yeah.
But pretty impressive that they could figure out a way to strengthen ligaments by making them swell up.
That's really crazy.
Yeah, it inflames them, and then they actually get thicker and stronger.
The things that they figure out, you're like, that's beyond my skills and abilities. I'll just stick to hunting.
So, first of all, I love your podcast. I love the old one that now Jason Phelps stole from you. But the new one is great, too. The new one is Live Wild.
Yep.
Yeah,
Live Wild podcast.
It's how many subscribers did you lose in going from Closing the Distance to Live Wild?
I don't know, actually. I think we're back up. We're probably higher than we were.
Oh, that's
before.
great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's been really good.
Because that's the big fear, right? When someone leaves a network or something like that, and you leave one podcast, and you essentially started from scratch.
Yeah, exactly. Just the same. It's like the same podcast, just kind of a new name, new place kind of thing.
It's a good name too, though. Live Wild's
thanks.
better.
Yeah, it was one of the ones like I've kind of always used that as just kind of this philosophy that I live by of the things that I like to do. I like that wild feeling of being out there and doing something in the wild that seems maybe things that other people aren't doing.
What was how fucked was the pandemic for you? Did you halt all activities or?
No, not really. There was still a lot of hunting stuff that was opened. For the first part of it, it was actually all right. Like my wife and I, we kind of escaped to our little cabin, and
Just
nothing was different. Yeah,
Right.
you're like, okay, cool. We're just doing our thing, and weren't around people anyways. So
It's a good excuse to live wild.
it was,
right?
yeah. The thing that for me especially is, we saw a pretty good like increase in the number of people that were thinking about where their food comes from and how they can be more self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And maybe even a lot of people that maybe went hunting when they were a kid. I got so many messages of people like, man, your podcast has really helped me because I haven't thought about hunting since I was a kid. I went out with my dad. Now this pandemic, I've got a little bit of time. Plus I'm worried about having, food. My friends that don't hunt, I was their first, like you'd hear all that news, like, meat shortage, this, that, and the other thing. They'd be like, hey, man, I don't know if you remember me, but it's like, yeah, I'll hook you up. We got plenty of burger. We got plenty of stuff.
Yeah, I had a lot of friends contact me because a lot of the guys that came to the podcast studio knew I had commercial freezers at the studio.
Oh, yeah.
So guys came by, I hooked them up with sausages and roasts, and it was cool. I like doing that though. It's nice. I just send pictures when you cook it.
Yeah,
that's all I'd say.
Yeah, it's fun for me too because it's a way for me to introduce people to what I really love. So they like try it because I think through that food experience, people that don't hunt can understand hunting in many ways, and that's a big thing for me. Is even my wife, I think she didn't start hunting till we were together, and it was through food. Like she loved the wild
Wasn't she
game
like
meat.
a vegetarian or something?
No, she wasn't. No, she ate meat.
I thought she was a vegan activist.
No, that was. I don't know if we would have got to our second date.
She was never a vegetarian or anything like that?
No, she
Did
wasn't.
I have
Maybe
false
someone
memory.
else, yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, there's a few of those guys out there that
for sure.
dated a vegetarian and then converted her to the dark side.
Yeah. No, but I think it was just like through that wild game where she just decided, oh, well, I really enjoy eating it. And now I'd like to be a part of this process.
That's
and
cool.
Go myself, yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, I haven't taken my kids hunting yet, but I've taken them fishing a bunch of times, and they love that they cooked or they caught our dinner.
That's
like
cool.
when we're all sitting down at the dinner table and we're eating some delicious fish that they caught, they fucking love it. Like, I caught this. Like, and they've been doing that since they were really little. Like, they can't even remember the first time they went fishing because I figured like hunting is a tough ask.
Yeah.
For a little kid to blow away a deer. It's like, ugh.
Right.
Also, like, a bad shot. Like, if I get a bad shot, I can handle it. It's not fun. I don't like it, but I can handle it. I am not going to put my kid through that.
Right.
Like, I want to make sure that they are really fucking accurate before they go hunting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I always think of fishing as like the gateway drug to hunting. It's like you can like you kind of learn the basics of what it means to get your own food. You learn the basics of like the entire experience. And that was something that I was worried about when my wife started hunting is making sure that she had the right shot, making sure everything was steady, making sure that it was going to go right.
Right.
Because, I didn't want her to have like a really bad experience. But also, when we're hunting, that's what we're doing. You just have more experience in deciding what's going to be a good shot or a bad shot.
Right.
And sometimes, there are those times where you have to, maybe you didn't do something right and you have to learn from that.
Yeah, no one cares if you have a dead fish on Instagram. No one cares. It's so weird. It's a really fascinating exercise in the value of life, because I did a post a long time ago, like a series of posts, like the hierarchy of dead animals on social media, and I said like lowest rung is a fillet of fish, like looking down at a piece of fish.
Yeah.
No one cares. A little above that is a dead fish. Like, okay. A little above that's a dead bird. Like I was holding a dead turkey. Nobody really cared. No one's angry.
Yeah.
I go, well, let's kick things up a bit. And then I showed a picture of bear meat. And I'm like, is this bear loin? And that was in, like saran wrap. And like, okay, now things are getting weird.
Yeah.
Right? You can show bear meat. This is a bear steak.
Yeah.
And people don't get mad. But if you have an actual dead bear, people will lose their fucking shit and want to kill you. You should die, you vile piece of shit. And they'll get so angry.
Yeah. Yeah, we put value on certain things, and fish are at the bottom of that.
The bottom? It's why. I guess it's just because we don't relate to the fact that they don't really love their kids.
Something.
Like they don't take care of their children. They shit them out and they just keep moving.
Yeah, and I mean, outside of like an aquarium, you don't really see them as like on your level. They're just below the surface. They're fast growing. They come and go.
There's no connection with a person.
No.
Like I think I connect more with plants than I do with a fish.
I think so too.
Yeah, I spray the plants. I'm like, how you doing, guys? What's up? Like take care of a plant in your house, and you have a connection with that thing.
Yeah.
Fish are just this thing that's like this like life form with no emotions, just like looking ahead.
The only living thing below fish would be like Christmas trees and flowers.
Or bugs.
Yeah, bugs.
Bugs. People have no problem eating bugs.
No.
Like that's the one thing that people are saying that like as meat shortages and food shortages happen. I don't know why everyone's predicting all these goddamn food shortages. Kind of freaking me out because I hear it about in the news constantly. Look, food shortages are coming. Food shortages are coming. Like how? There's so much food. What are we doing? What are we going to do differently in 6 months than we're doing now that you're assuming there's going to be food shortages?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think a few people could use a little less food in their life.
Yeah.
So maybe there's that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know now there's all the conspiracies of all the factories burning down, and I'm like,
I'm sure they were burning factories already. I'm sure there was something going on. I mean, it's like how many factories are there? How many food processing factories are there? Are there thousands? Have we lost 2? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Like, what should I be scared of? It's like there's so much money in keeping people scared. That's what's fucked. Because, like, when you look at the news online, like, the value of a clickbaity title, it's undeniable. Like, when you get a good title, like food shortages, like, oh, my children are going to starve, let me click. You're instantaneously drawn into it, and then they're rewarded. So they continue to publish more fear-mongering articles and more scary articles.
Yeah. And maybe some of those articles actually cause it as well.
Maybe.
Like panic buying and all that kind of stuff.
I'm worried that that it's a cry wolf type situation. I'm going to ignore it, and then I'm going to go to the supermarket and there's no rice. How come you guys don't have any rice? There's no more rice. Like, where do you get rice? Is there another store that I can get rice? Is there no more rice?
No more rice.
What are we doing?
Yeah. That's why I think that whole reason is why people have turned to hunting and being a little bit more self-sufficient. Because right now, if there was a food shortage, I'd be fine for quite a while. I mean, I wouldn't have a variety of diet, and I'm not saying it would be the most comfortable thing, but it's pretty much not a lot would change for me.
As long as the power stays on and the freezers keep running, good to go.
Yeah.
Or
I could be firing up my dehydrator.
I could eat, my family could eat, and my friends could eat for a year.
Yeah.
I have a year's worth of food, which is nice. And I eat mostly meat anyway.
Yeah.
Too. I eat mostly meat and fruit. That's basically my diet these days.
Yeah.
Do you grow anything, like any vegetables or anything in your backyard?
I don't.
You're always on the road.
Yeah,
right?
that's what when you're gone a lot. I've tried. We've got fruit trees because those are kind of low maintenance.
Yeah,
you don't have to like plant them
sustainable.
every year. You just
Right.
Of it. So yeah, I'd be on the meat and fruit train as well.
Are you like how often are you traveling a year? At one point in time, I remember I talked to you. You said you were hunting about 250 days a year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't really like broken it down. And the last couple of years has been so random as well.
Right.
But it's a lot of days. I spend a lot of days out there, whether it's hunting for myself, doing some filming stuff, guiding people. I still do that. I don't advertise it because it's just we're so busy, whatever. And then it's probably up there in the 200 range.
And just is it mostly in this country? Or I know you do a lot of stuff in New Zealand too. Are you still doing that?
Yeah, well they've been shut down. I'm going back as soon as they open up. But
Are they open now or
no, not yet.
Still not.
They
Wow.
will be here pretty shortly.
It's interesting how different countries handle this differently, isn't it?
Yeah, but I was actually down in Argentina not last month.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was pretty cool. It was the first time I've been there because I normally go to New Zealand during their fall, Southern Hemisphere fall, where it's chasing red deer and they're rutting, so it's just like elk, but opposite seasons.
But they have like a roar.
Yeah,
It sounds like a lion.
sounds like it's a mix between a beef cow and a lion. It's like a roar.
See if you can find a stag roaring, audio of a stag roaring. A
Yeah.
strange sound.
It is weird.
Like elk and stags, both of them have the fucking coolest noises they make.
They do.
It's
Yeah.
look how beautiful that thing is. What a wild noise. Look at his boner too.
Lipstick hanging out.
He's excited.
Yeah.
He's trying to get some. Are they basically the same size as an elk?
Yeah, a little bit smaller, like probably like the size of a mature cow elk.
Jack Carr was just down in that area in Argentina hunting stags. That was
cool.
amazing.
Yeah.
He loves it down there.
It's cool, man. They especially when they're where I was hunting is so thick that they had to be roaring. Otherwise, you aren't going to find them. Like it's just flat and thick. So they've got to be vocal like that. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult to find any of them.
And is it like the area that you're going to? Is it a hilly area? It's just flat.
Pretty flat, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so they just like, do you find their beds? Do you know where they go, or do you just have to find them by roaring?
Roaring.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so you make a roar sound and then you'll get them just like elk bugling.
Oh, really? So you have a roar tube?
Yeah. You just use your voice.
Oh.
Yeah.
So there's no like elk call thing, like like a Phelps call?
I don't think no. I mean there probably is, but I don't think it's as good as what you can do with your voice.
Well, let me hear a roar.
No, on the spot. Let me get some water. I mean, you'd normally do it into a tube, but
Right. That's pretty good. That's pretty solid.
yeah.
That's pretty good.
And I mean, they've got things, but you're just, and when you're out there, you hear them. It's a little easier to kind of match that sound and that pitch.
Do the females have a sound as well?
Yeah, they're
Oh,
kind
so
of like
it's
a cow elk.
kind of cow
Yeah.
elk. Interesting. Yeah. Are they native to Argentina, or did they get brought over there?
Brought over, same as New Zealand. Like they're one of those animals. It's everybody left England and they're like, we miss home and we want something to eat and chase or run around our state, and so they just let them out.
What year did they do that?
In Argentina, it was like, I can't even remember, 18 something.
So they probably did it on boats.
Yep.
Brought them over on boats.
Boats.
Wow.
Probably train.
How did they even
cages.
capture them back then?
They were, they'd have like their estates and they'd probably set up like a feed trap where they'd go in and then they'd close the gates kind of thing.
And then they brought them over in boats.
Yep. They put them on in crates, have somebody tend them. A lot of them, like there's a lot of, when they went to New Zealand, like they would start out with 20 and then 7 would make it or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And they just let them go, and now there's giant populations running around random places around the world. Lots of different animals they've done that with.
Yeah, New Zealand is a bizarre place in that regard. That there's so many animals that are non-native animals that have massive populations that they even don't they do helicopter calls?
Yeah, the helicopter calls they do, or a lot of poisoning. Like they'll put almost like poisoned grain
Wow.
Crazy
Just because
stuff.
there's so many of them, they have to control the
Yeah,
population.
because there's no predators. People don't realize how effective predators are. They eat a lot and they kill a lot, and they definitely manage that ecosystem in some ways. Now, when the predators get out of check, then the populations kind of go crazy as well. But predators are super efficient at managing populations. When you don't have those predators, then humans have to be that predator. Because the trouble is, you think like, oh, well, we'll just let them run amok, right? Well, then they're going to make certain species of grasses go extinct that are native only there. They're going to destroy the habitat to a point where not some of them survive, none of them survive.
Yeah, and then diseases.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is very common in overpopulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see the predator situation in the difference between the amount of deer that you find in California versus the amount of deer that you find in Texas.
Absolutely.
Because in Texas, predators are not protected. So mountain lions are basically like vermin.
Yeah.
Like you could just shoot one. No one cares. Whereas in California, you're going to fucking jail. Like you have to have a depredation permit. Like even if you do that, the animal rights activists will find out about you. There was a woman that had an alpaca farm in Malibu, and she was getting this problem where this one cat was visiting her alpaca farm and just joy killing. So he'd hop the fence and kill 6 or 7 alpacas, just fuck them up and not even eat them. And so they issued a depredation permit, but then the press got a hold of it. And because it was a kind of a wild story that this mountain lion was targeting this woman's farm. And then the animal activist started sending her death threats, and she was freaking out. And so she decided not to even exercise the permit and have it, because she was going to hire someone and have it taken care of. It's like the thing about mountain lions in California is they kill the exact same amount of mountain lions as they did when mountain lion hunting was legal.
Yeah.
It's just now the state has to pay for it versus money coming in from hunters buying tags and paying all the other things that you would do that go along with mountain lion hunting, whether it's dogs or guides or hotels, food, all that revenue is gone, and instead it's just a negative because now they have to hire government hunters who have to go after these mountain lions that wind up killing a lot of dogs, and they kill the same amount every year though.
Yeah,
it's kind of
I've
nuts.
actually seen that in some cases it's higher, but
it's crazy.
As the population increases, that number increases, but it's just people aren't seeing it.
But it just makes people feel okay that hunters aren't killing mountain lions, but instead like these government hitmen are, and you don't know about it. It's so dumb. But there's still a massive mountain lion population, and it's fucking hard to find deer in California. There's not a lot.
No. Yeah, between the deer and the bears, the predator populations are really high. And when you go, like you say, I mean, a lot of people that I talk to live in California. Like, man, I hunted an entire week, didn't see a single deer. I've actually hunted in California and seen, you'll go out for 5 days and probably see 7 to 12 bears, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe 1 deer,
It's nuts.
It's crazy.
Well, that's just what happens. It's what happens when you don't manage properly, or if you manage with emotions and, and the general perception of the public that's not informed, instead of using wildlife biology and science and what they do in most sane places where they regulate the animal population based on what they understand from the surveys.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things when you've got this crazy ecosystem where it's tightly managed, and people are like, well, just let nature take its course. And like, we've completely screwed up nature.
Yeah.
The fact that you're living there, existing there, you think about like all these, the plant species that are in North America right now should never be here. Like, we can never get back to that equilibrium. We've fucked it up way too much. It's too far gone. It's like, it's this crazy idea of like, it'd be nice, but it can't happen. Because if that were to happen, you'd have to have like a mass eradication of so many animals. I mean, just to like be like, oh, let's get everything back to normal. Well, you'd have to kill off all the wild horses, and nobody wants to do that, right?
But you couldn't, wild horses?
Because those wild horses will make a lot of native species go extinct.
Right.
They can outcompete. They can do things that other animals can't. They can survive certain predators in other situations. Like, they're just better at surviving, and they can take over a landscape. And so you're like, let's just put things back to normal. Well, you're going to have to eradicate a lot of shit.
That's a really good example, wild horses, because that is an emotional animal. People get people who love horses, they love horses the way people love dogs.
Yeah.
The idea of eating a horse or shooting a horse is infuriates people.
Yeah.
Like I talked about, I was in Montreal, and Canada has a different take on horses. And
Right.
we're at Joe Beef. Have you ever been to Montreal? Joe Beef is an insanely good restaurant. One of my favorite in the world. And they served us horse. I was like, oh, like I don't know how I feel about this.
Yeah.
But it looked like a piece of elk. It was delicious.
Yeah, I've had it in a couple outside of the U.S., obviously. And yeah, for the most part, you don't even know what it is until
Right.
somebody tells you. I think it kind of tastes a little sweeter than beef or something, but it is pretty lean too.
It's very lean.
It's kind of more like elk meat, something.
Yeah,
like that.
some kind of game type animal,
Yeah.
but it's so emotional. We did an episode of Fear Factor once where people had to eat horse rectum, and people were so angry. The horse people were furious.
Yeah.
They called up.
More worried about it being a horse than a rectum, right?
Yeah, they didn't care about
Yeah.
rectums.
It's like,
you know.
that's normal.
Well, it looks like an organ. It just
Yeah.
looks like a tube. It doesn't look like where shit comes out of.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Like what sausage is stuffed in.
But you think about all the wild animals that they would have to eradicate from this country. Like, how would they get rid of all the nutrias? They can't even find those little fuckers.
Nutrias, hogs,
Right?
feral cats.
Oh,
feral-
yeah.
I mean, like everything.
The feral hog is a real problem, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
a lot of places.
How are you going to get them? There's
You
millions of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not going to bring it back to normal. There's no
can't.
normal anymore.
No, there isn't. And even just like, I mean, a larger portion of it is habitat.
Yeah.
You think about, you're like, well, these big animals, they need big habitat and they need suitable habitat and they need a certain kind of habitat. And you think about that, like mule deer, and you go, well, what's a mule deer need? Well, they need a winter range. And where are you building your houses? In the winter range. So we'd have to get rid of a lot of houses. We'd have to displace a lot of people to get things back to normal. Like,
And
it's
then
just
you-
never going to happen.
You would have to
can't.
put elk everywhere. Like
Yeah,
the
across
entire
the US.
country.
You'd have to get rid of every fence.
Yeah.
And you definitely, I mean, seriously though,
Right.
like agriculture would have to cease because every time you go, you're like, oh yeah, this cornfield is great until you harvest it. Because you harvest it before wintertime. It doesn't leave any food on the ground for the animals. So it's not only tearing away habitat, like they need somewhere, all animals need food, water, and shelter, just like us, right? But if you tear out all that riparian area, you tear out all the trees, everything else, then they don't have that home. And so now it's just a field, which part of the year they can live in and it's great. But the rest of the year, they don't have anywhere to go to survive the winter. They don't have anywhere to go to survive predators. They just have a barren plot of ground.
Yeah.
So you'd have to get rid of all that. You'd have to get rid of fences. You'd have to get rid of a lot of things.
Yeah, that's a dirty reality for people that only eat vegetables. Like monocrop agriculture and
Yeah.
those giant swaths of land, that is completely unnatural. And that absolutely causes the death of countless animal lives.
Yeah.
Because all the different things that get ground up in the process of making that soil available for farming and grinding up the cultivation of all those plants, whether it's using combines or whether it's what they're doing to churn up the soil, like all that stuff kills a bunch of shit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's what they actually do, like the CRP program where they'll pay farmers essentially what that almost, I don't know the exact amount that they pay them, but to just leave it as like habitat because they notice that so much land's being demolished just for agriculture
Yeah.
that there's nowhere for animals to actually live.
Yeah, what does CRP stand for?
I can't remember. I
was
literally
watching
went
that
out of
on
my
an
head.
episode of Yellowstone where they were talking about CRP.
Conservation Reserve Program.
Uh-huh.
Does that sound
Yeah.
right?
You know about that thing they're doing in the American Prairie Reserve? Do you know that thing they're
No.
doing in the middle of the country? They're trying to essentially replicate something similar to what it looked like before modern settlers or the European settlers, rather. American Prairie Reserve. So they're trying to buy up enormous swaths of land, far bigger than Yellowstone, fill it with buffalo and pronghorn and mule deer and all these different animals. And I think they're doing block management on this too. So they're going to have areas where people can hunt, but these will be areas where there'll be no development, no cities, no nothing.
That's actually pretty cool. So I guess maybe it does work.
In this
Just gonna
area,
have to do it on a larger scale.
yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
they just have a very like sort of a defined area that they're trying to do this in there. Although this region was once known for its abundance of wildlife, current wildlife populations are greatly diminished. But yeah, that's all across the country.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, habitat restoration is the keystone of like a healthy environment, healthy animal populations.
Yeah.
Like all these conservation organizations, that's the number one focus is habitat, because without it, you have nothing.
Yeah.
You know, you could have all the animals in the world, but if you don't have that habitat, well, I mean, even here in Texas, right? There's species that are abounding here that don't actually exist really in the wild where they're from.
Like oryx.
Yeah, and it's primarily because they just don't have the habitat for it anymore. Right? It's deforested, or well, they're more of a plains animal, but wherever they used to live doesn't really exist like that anymore. So they could never, like, there could be a billion of them here, but it doesn't matter. You could keep throwing them out over there, and they'll never take hold because they don't have anywhere to go.
Right. Yeah, that's a weird thing about Texas, is that there are animals that are endangered that you can hunt.
Yeah.
Because they're not endangered here.
Correct.
Which is very, like, oryx are hard to find in their native habitat, in their native range.
I guess the scimitar horned oryx, yeah. Because like other oryx are not, but those ones particularly are.
The scimitar oryx they're popular here. Like there's a lot of ranches that have them, which is
I think
wild.
I don't know the whole history behind it, but people started breeding them because it was like, oh, it's rare, and then they would sell them to other. It was just like a commodity almost. And it's
like a
that's
cool thing to have.
Yeah, like people would start breeding them, and then they'd be expensive, right? So someone's like, oh, dude, I'm gonna start an oryx farm because I can sell them for $20,000 a pop.
What a cool looking animal, though. I mean, it's a wild animal and gorgeous horns. But that's a very, very popular animal in ranches out here. A lot of folks have them. There's a lot of animals out here that are, there's more tigers in captivity in private collections in Texas than all the wild of the world.
Oh, for sure.
That's fact. That's so crazy to say.
Yeah, it is weird.
Just one state in people's backyard tigers. There's more tigers. So, like, if there's ever, like, if tigers go extinct in India, they can always just snatch up a few hundred from Texas and
set them loose.
Yeah, no bullshit. Like, they really could do that.
I wonder how well they'd actually be conditioned to be able to survive on their own. I don't think that...
Well, feral cats do it, right? And cats are... Like, a feral cat is a house cat. And house cats are about the most tame version of a cat you're ever going to find.
For sure.
And they become ruthless murderers when you let them loose.
Yeah. My brother actually had a cat jump in his chicken coop yesterday and take the head off 2 chickens. Whoa. Like a little tiny cat. He sent me the video. I'm like, yeah. He's like, what is this cat?
They're fucking mean.
They're crazy.
Man. They're mean. Yeah. I used to have this fluffy ragdoll cat, and she used to kill everything. I let her out. She was a ball of fluff. I let her outside, and she like slowly moving in on a bird. Like all of her was consumed. Nature. She had nothing but cat food her whole life. All of her instincts were consumed with killing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Bizarre animal.
Yeah.
That we have this little tiny animal that just recognizes that we're too big to kill. So it leaves us alone. But everything else, you can't, like, I had a bit in my act about it. Like, you can have a pet gerbil and a pet dog. And you can put the gerbil on the ground and the dog go like, what the fuck is this? And you're like, hey, don't eat it. That's my friend.
Right.
And your dog go, okay, it's a rat. I think it's a rat. That's a fucking rat, dude. And you're like, no, it's not a rat. It's a gerbil, and he's my friend. And the dog go, all right. But a cat, you have like 0.1/10 of a second before that cat kills that fucking gerbil.
Exactly.
It's gonna just dive on it. You can't teach a cat to not kill a hamster.
No.
There's no rules. All bets are off. Fuck you. I'm killing it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think though the tigers, man. Think about how much meat a tiger needs to eat per day. Something like 10 pounds or something. I'm not.
Oh, it's got to be more than that. They're so big.
Yeah. And then you'd have to have. So think about how much meat a tiger needs to eat. And where are they going to get that much food? Like a cat can kill a bird and survive, a mouse and survive. Tigers are going to have to kill large animals, probably like an axis deer or something like that, almost daily. Every couple days, right? So it's like you need enough of those. So even if you had a bunch of tigers and you put them back in the wild, it's like they don't have anything to eat. So they're just going to die.
Well, you and I were talking last night after the comedy show about Lanai, and about Lanai to me is one of the strangest places I've ever hunted. because first of all, it's this gorgeous island. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's only got 3,000 people, but it has 30,000 axis deer. It's the most bonkers place I've ever been. Like, you can't believe how many deer there are. But those deer are so fast and so wired because they evolved to get away from tigers.
Yep.
So they hear the snap of a bow going off, and they're like, "Pew!" They're gone.
Yeah.
In a way that I can't imagine that I would have ever believed a mammal can move that fast.
Oh, yeah.
Until I saw it.
And then there's a bunch of them, too. So one of them hears it, and the rest of them just go.
They just burst into
they-
a different direction.
Yeah. And that's how they survive, that herd mentality. It's like everybody's looking out, everybody's watching. And then that's how they've survived tigers, but a few of them will get taken out.
But you were telling me that Lanai's lost a large population.
I think I mean, there's been a little bit of a drought, so there's just less water, and I think that's played a big portion of some of the...
They can kind of manipulate whether or not they get water, right? By the amount of trees they have. And
Yeah, it's weird because, I mean, a lot of those Hawaiian islands, there's that dry side, and then there's that wet side.
yeah.
And yeah, I think that there was something where they kind of deforested it and it stopped getting the rain.
Ooh. Yeah,
I
isn't that
reading
strange?
Yeah.
That the amount of trees that you have on an island can actually affect the amount of rainfall.
Well, I mean, I don't know how true this is either, though, because they were saying like the axis deer at one point ate so much vegetation that it changed the weather, but I don't know how that could be, but I've read
I
that
think that
before.
makes sense. Because if you think
Yeah.
about yearlings or any kind of like little tiny shrubs that are coming up, like trees that are on their way up,
Yeah.
they just start eating them before they ever get a chance to become trees.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, they're not chopping trees down.
No, I mean, yeah, I just don't know if it's like, if that could actually change, or if it's like maybe they're just in a drought and they attributed it to that. It's hard to say.
I was in Maui recently, and we were on a boat fishing, and we were passing this one part of the island where the guy said it rains like 290 days a year.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, that area right there is one of the wettest parts of the world. He goes, but look, over there, dry.
Desert. There's like
crazy.
literally a canyon apart.
Yeah.
It just goes over into that canyon and it rains.
And the clouds hover over that area, and there's a shit ton of vegetation, and it just pours rain there.
It's crazy.
That's the weirdest thing about the Big Island to me, because the Big Island is so fascinating, because you go from Kona, and then you go all the way around, and you make the loop, and you'll run into like 5 different ecosystems.
Yeah.
You can go skiing in places in the Big Island.
Yeah.
And the same day, you could be on the beach surfing. It's bonkers.
It is crazy. Yeah, and those mountains are actually pretty big.
Yes, real
Like from
big.
sea level to 10,000 plus feet.
Have you ever been to the observatory up there?
I have, yeah.
God, it's fucking amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
You got to catch it on a time where there's no moon. That's the thing.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you go to the Keck Observatory, you got to get up there when there's no moon, and it's spectacular. Like the view of the sky, the view of the heavens, the view of the Milky Way. It changed my thought about space. Like it reset my understanding of like what's up there.
Oh, yeah.
Because you look at the night sky and we have so much light pollution, and you're just accustomed to seeing a few stars. Or you go out in the country in the middle of the winter, and the sky is clear and you see so many stars, but nothing like this. Because you're at 13,000 feet and you're above the clouds. You actually drive through the clouds to get to the observatory.
One thing I love, like when I'm out hunting, backpacking, and you're up on a mountain, looking down on stars, I think is the coolest experience, because you get up on the top of the mountain, and your whole perspective is normally looking up at the space, and you're like looking down at the stars. I'll never forget this one time I was hunting central Nevada, and that's got to be one of the darkest places in the lower 48. Actually, you guys pretty much went to that spot, but I was up on the big mountain behind there and packing out a deer, and it was a really big meteor shower, and you're looking and they're like below you. It was a really cool experience. I don't think you don't even think of it like that. Like, you get to see everything.
The curve of the earth.
Curve of it,
yeah. Wow. That's a scary place for lightning storms, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Have you ever been in one of those? You've been hit
I've been
by
hit
lightning.
by lightning.
Oh,
yeah.
that's right.
Yeah. I was a little kid and I was actually in my backyard, but lightning, Nevada, central Nevada, get some crazy
How
lightning.
old were you when you got hit?
Like kindergarten age.
Whoa.
First grade. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Me and my dad were actually just in the backyard. We were he was putting up a basketball hoop and I was just there. And there was a lightning storm over, like we lived up on a hill, and there's a lightning storm like off in the distance, and in the high desert, these just like the clouds come up those valleys, they gather a lot of electricity, and just like you get these crazy lightning storms. And it was blue skies above us, and probably like a mile away, and just a bolt reached out. A lot of people that's actually how a lot of people get struck, because when it's a crazy lightning storm, you aren't standing there looking at it. You know, you're thinking,
Right.
You're like, I'm going to be a lot smarter than just standing there. But they call it bolts over the blue. I think the majority of people that actually get struck are there's not actually clouds above them.
What?
Yeah, because you think about it, you're like, oh, I'm safe here, right? I'm a mile or whatever. It just looks off in the distance, and
Right.
then a bolt reaches out and hammers you.
So there was blue skies above your head, and a bolt went sideways and hit you?
Yeah, pretty much.
Holy
So
fuck.
he had been putting up the basketball hoop. I think he just finished it, and we were just like, this lightning storm came, and they come in pretty quick, and just like watching it, and bolt reached out, probably attracted to,
The pole.
the pole, yeah, and hit me in my right leg, just above my knee, and then came out below my knee, and then my dad. I don't remember exactly where my dad was hit, but it threw me. We had like these 3 steps going down, and it threw me. I don't even know. 20 yards, a long ways.
20 yards?
Maybe it wasn't that far. 15 yards. Everything I was small, so it seemed a lot bigger. Yeah, I mean, it threw me like all the way up 3 steps and across the yard. When my dad came to, he came to before me, and he was actually temporarily paralyzed. Like he wanted to crawl to me, but he couldn't move. Wow. And I was out for a while. And then
So you were unconscious. You probably
Yeah.
thought you were dead.
yeah, he was like probably thought I was dead.
And he can't move.
And he can't move. No.
Fuck.
Yeah. And then he actually he was like temporarily paralyzed for a little while, and then everything just came back.
Like how long is a little while?
A couple weeks.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That must have been terrifying.
Yeah. Like knowing what happened. Or are you gonna?
And when did you come back?
I remember coming to like as soon as the paramedics or whatever.
You
came.
remember it?
Oh yeah, that's like my first memory. I think probably because it was so traumatic, and probably because it probably fried every memory after that or before that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely remember. I remember coming to. I remember thinking like, this is. I remember it's just every like you're kind of shell shocked. When I wouldn't compare it to anything, but the movie Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
When there's that scene where the bomb goes off and like everything's kind of like slow motion-y weird and the sound's weird and whatever. When I saw that scene, I was like, that's my memory. It was like that noise and the everything was weird, slow motion-y. I think because your heart's probably going really fast and you can't hear. And everything's like this weird noise. And I just remember it. And when I saw that, I was like, that's really fucking accurate. So I'd be interested to see like other people that have been in like a shell shock situation or whatever. I bet you that somebody had to have done something where I would say like coached them on that, because that scene of like that really, I thought it was super accurate of like what lightning was like.
Do you remember the lightning hitting you?
No, I just remember waking up. Wow. I don't know if you could remember the lightning hitting you. My dad doesn't either.
And you had some weird repercussions for a while, right?
Oh yeah, I was like, I think it just messes with everything. But I definitely had, almost still do, like a weird twitch for a very long time that had to get under control.
Really?
Yeah.
Still do?
Yeah. I've like trained myself to consciously not do certain things. It's been like a very long process. I don't even think about it anymore. But for a long, like when I was younger. Probably till I was like 17. You just have to like think about it 100% of the time.
So what is the twitch? Like, what does it do?
I don't even know. It's like it was like well, back then it was like a weird, like my neck would be like, what? Like a weird twitch. Like the kid with the twitch, and it wasn't all the time, but it definitely like happened.
So you had to learn, like, there it goes, stop it.
Yeah.
Oh, so
train yourself.
Oh, wow.
Like things, but it became automatic. I don't know. It was weird. It's weird. It's almost like certain things that normal people do automatically that you don't think about. I almost have to think about.
Wow.
Yeah. Blinking's one of those things for me.
Really?
Yeah. I had to like, I would almost like, it would be like more. So like it was a weird thing. Cause like I tried, it's like one of those things now. It's like, I actually got it under control to the point where it's actually like weird because I don't even think about it anymore. I don't even like talking about it because it like fucks with that part of your head that you're like, I don't know, but to train yourself to do something in a different way that should be automatic, like your heart beating, I guess, you're like, I don't do that, but yeah, like anything that's automatic, to train yourself to do something a different way is very difficult, in my opinion.
Wow. You have to think about blinking. So it just kind of cooked your system a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Yeah. They say like people that have been struck by lightning, like their person, I was young enough where it wouldn't have affected me in that way, but like people's personalities change and just random stuff, weird stuff happens like that.
That makes sense because people's personalities change from car accidents.
Yeah. They also say that people that are struck by lightning once are more likely to get struck again.
I heard that too.
You know, I figured it out. It's just because people that get struck by lightning in the first place are fucking idiots. It's like, I'm gonna finish this back nine. I don't care if nature's, or I'm gonna go out on the lake and water ski. I don't give a shit about that storm. Or I'm gonna be fixing this antenna on my roof.
Yeah. It's funny how people that have never known anybody that got hit by lightning are pretty blasé about lightning. You know?
Yeah.
Like, it was starting to rain once when we were on the lake, and I was like, we better get inside. And they're like, what's the big deal? I go, fucking lightning?
Yeah.
Lightning's a big deal? Like,
right.
There's a lot of lightning out here in Texas.
Yeah.
Dude, we were here once in July, and there was a lightning storm, and lightning hit 300 yards from my house. And the sound, like, if you've never been around where lightning hits really close, the sound and the instantaneous sound, because it was the crackle, you see the bolt, the sky lights up, and you hear the boom, and you realize, oh shit, that's right there.
Oh yeah.
Right over there. Boom!
It was so powerful too.
Woo! It was so loud. It was like we were being attacked by gods. You know, I mean, you can see why they thought Thor was like raining thunderbolts out of the sky back in the old days. Because if it's near you, the amount of energy that's involved is so disturbing.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, what, like, one lightning bolt has so much. If we could, you know, they've also like harness that power, and you're like, you don't want that going through your body. I can tell you from experience.
It's amazing that you survived. How many people survive lightning bolts?
More than you would think, actually. Yeah.
Like, what's the percentage of survival?
I don't know. I think the percentage last time I looked was greater than 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10 survive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty good.
It is really good. Yeah, I think, you know, it's like the odds. People would be like, oh, the odds of that of being struck by lightning. It's like, yeah, but it's like anything, man. If you're outside during a lightning storm, your odds exponentially increase. It's also like, I don't know, we've talked about bear attacks before. When you're like living and breathing in bear country, the odds of getting attacked exponentially increase. Yeah, for most of the world, it's not a factor.
Right.
But when you're in that situation and you've got nowhere to go, like if you're on the top of a mountain and there's a lightning storm, you're the one whose odds of getting struck are going to happen. It's not as rare. It's not like winning the lottery.
Yeah, I always try to tell that to people that say you shouldn't be scared of sharks. Like, sharks, they're so rare, shark attacks. I go, do you know how fucking rare it is for a person to be near a shark? How about think of that?
Right.
Because, like, when you're thinking about people swimming, they're only in the edge. It's very rare they're in the middle. It's very rare that they're like 20 yards or 20 miles, rather, out to sea, you know, swimming around. That's not happening.
Yeah.
So wherever the fucking sharks are, like, you got to think, like, how many people are near those sharks? If they found out how easy we were to eat,
it'd be over.
It would be a problem because the only reason they don't target us is because they don't know we're edible. They're used to seals and other things that they eat on a regular basis. They just don't think of us as food because it's not a normal part of their every day-to-day life.
Yeah, the other thing, too, is, I mean, if you think about, I think about it a lot when I'm spearfishing. And if you think about a shark and how big they are, right? But when you're in the water, let's say you're spearfishing and you've got your fins on, you look like a very large animal.
Yes.
You know, you're whatever, 6 feet plus fins. That's as big as most sharks. So they don't eat really large things. Now, great whites are probably the exception, and those are the ones that attack the most people.
Yeah.
Because their food source is a little bit bigger. But even a seal is, you know, half our size for the most part.
Yeah, seals, they're half our size, and I'm sure they taste delicious to a shark. It's all fat. And they're just like a big lollipop of
Probably
juiciness.
the type of scent that they put out too in the water.
Oh yeah, I mean everything, right? The scent, like it's just animals get accustomed to eating very specific things. You know, they get accustomed to a specific type of diet, and they seek that out. It's normal to them.
Right.
If you could add people to that list, I mean that's a problem when they find tigers that get accustomed to eating people. Once they eat a few, they're like, these people are great.
Yeah.
Then they start targeting them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the like part of areas of India where there's a lot of tiger attacks. They get these tigers they call them man-eaters because they just decide that, like, people are slow as fuck and they're very nutritious. You can sustain your existence off of people.
Oh, yeah. Very defenseless as well.
Oh, my God, nothing. We have nothing. Even our teeth aren't sharp.
No.
We have nothing.
We've got like numbers. And if you're by yourself, you're a goner.
We have strategy. I'll just poke him in the eye. I'll stick my fingers right in his eyeball. There. Okay.
Yeah.
Good luck. You ever poke an eye? It's not that hard. I mean, it's not that easy,
It's
rather.
not easy. Yeah.
It's like they all have to do is like squinch their eyes shut. And it's like you can't really get in there quick enough for them to stop eating you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you've had like some pretty wild close encounters. On the last podcast, I think we talked about your encounter on a Fognac Island with that gigantic bear.
Yeah.
Did that fuck your head up forever?
No.
No?
People ask that, and I think I even mentioned it last time. It's like, out of this, if I like think about things that scared the shit out of me in my life, that's not like on the bottom of the list. I don't know why. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's like I'm conditioned. I know that I'm going to experience those kind of things. It's not the first time I've been charged by bears.
Yeah, but that was so close, though.
It was, but also like at the end of it, and the other thing, I think that there's things that I don't know. I've almost died a lot of times, so that was like not the scariest in many ways.
I don't understand that. But that thing ran through the camp. Dirt Myth rode its back for like 10 or 15 yards.
And that's like one of the, it is crazy, but also I was just like, I don't know why that, I don't know. I think that I've had like more close encounters with almost falling off cliffs and stuff that scare me more than that.
That makes sense. That part makes sense.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's probably something about an animal attack or a close animal attack that triggers some sort of primal reaction in a person that's paralyzing.
Yeah, I think the one thing is, I think in many ways, it's like you think about it all the time. You know, like when you're out there. I don't know. I feel like I've been guiding people professionally in what would be bear country for almost my entire life.
Yeah.
I encounter bears constantly, whether it's brown bears, black bears, whatever. I've actually had a black bear charge me twice this year or last year.
Really?
In my yard almost.
Really?
Yeah.
In Nevada?
No, in Montana.
What happened?
Okay, this is actually so I was we've got like these little cabins, and I hear something going down behind one of the cabins, like something killing a deer. So went out, and it was a mountain lion had killed a whitetail, like I don't even know, probably 15 yards behind one of the cabins. And then I was guiding, so I got up early and left and went out and was telling like my wife everything, be careful, don't be walking around at dark, whatever. But I put a trail. I should have been smart enough to just like move it, but I just didn't have the time to dick with it. So I put a trail camera up to see if it was coming back. And a bear had come in, like a black bear, and claimed the carcass, which black bears do a lot. Like mountain lions, when they kill something, they like get it, they kill it, and the first thing they do is they take out the most nutritious part. They just pull the liver right out because they get chased off a lot of their kills. They're just such efficient killers too. It's nothing for a mountain lion to go kill something else, whereas a bear isn't really great at killing stuff. So they more scavenge, they more forage, they're more
Omnivorous.
Yeah, I don't know why that escaped me, but So I put the trail camera on and I was like, oh, a bear came and now claimed this carcass, and the cat probably won't come back. And then I'm walking back in the dark, and the bear is on the thing, and I was like shining my flashlight there. And now he wants to claim it as his own, doesn't want me to steal it from him. Yeah, he's like, I took it, now it's mine. And woofing and stuff, and runs in maybe half the distance, and I'm yelling at it, and he doesn't even give a shit. So I was like, okay. So I just tell everyone, well, let's like not mess, nobody go outside. And so in the cabin, I hear something on on the porch, and I forgot I had like a little trash can out there with some stuff in it, and the bear's fucking with it. So I opened the door to scare the bear away. I was like, hey, hey, thinking, okay. And instead of running away, he just runs right to the door.
God.
Slammed the door in his face, and it's like, oh shit, you know, we need to take care of this bear. So the next day, somebody had a bear tag, and we moved the carcass, and I was like looking around for the bear, but we never saw it again.
Oh wow! So once you moved the bear carcass,
Once
got
I
hit.
moved the carcass, yeah,
He's like, actually, I should probably
you know,
cut my losses.
I just moved the carcass, and he kept hitting the carcass, but it wasn't around us.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bears they're beautiful and they're cool and I'm glad they're around,
Yeah.
but they scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, I can see
Mostly
that.
brown bears. Yeah. But you know, Ranella was telling me a story once about this guy who was on his first hunt ever, and a 500-pound predatory black bear broke into his tent.
Oh yeah.
And his buddy shot the bear, and the bullet went through and hit his wrist. And you know, there was a clusterfuck because the bear was trying to eat his friend in his fucking tent. First ever hunt. He's getting mauled in his tent by a 500-pound black bear.
That's really bad odds.
Bad odds.
Yeah, that's just bad luck.
I mean, it does happen, but like 1 in a million.
There's actually a lot of black bear attacks, but most of them are in almost what I'd consider like a residential experience where they've got food, and it's like a lot of older people or women mostly. And it's those times that you're caught off guard, like you walk out and it's in your trash can, and maybe it's got cubs, and then freaks out, or people walking their dogs, and the dogs fuck with the bear, and then they go to save the dog, and the dog or the bear kills them.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, Montana and like Idaho and the areas that have like grizzlies in the country.
Yep.
Like that's a different animal.
Grizzlies.
Yeah,
they've just got a different temperament. They're extremely irritable. Like they've got that. They know that they're big, and their propensity is more to like rush you and scare you off than to. Now, 90% of the encounters that I have with brown bears or grizzlies, they run away. They don't really like people, but there are those ones where they get like they bluff charge you, they wolf at you, they stomp on the ground.
I don't
they
like
do their
that
thing.
number. 90% is not enough. That means 1 out of 10 is going to try to kill you.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. Like it's 50-50. Really, they're either going to run away or run towards you, and for them, it's probably just as easy to do both. I don't know.
How many times have you been like in a bad encounter with a grizzly? Or any kind of brown bear?
So I guess I would say I've been attacked once. I've probably been charged 4 times.
When you say attacked once, you talking about a fognack?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then charged maybe like 4 times. Yeah, that'd be pretty.
And that's
reasonable.
not the scariest thing. What is the scariest thing that ever happened to you in the wild?
Man. I would say one of the scariest things. I was in New Zealand. I was actually guiding at the time, and I took this lady. We were hunting chamois, and those mountains are like just straight up and down. And she was older, and she was doing this thing where she's trying to hunt everything like free range in the South Pacific. And I don't know at the time if any other woman had accomplished that. Like, and she was getting older now, and it was just kind of like one of those things. So I really wanted her to be able to get this animal. So we were hunting, and we got dropped off by a helicopter, and then we were up there camping and stuff, and it was really foggy. And then the fog cleared, and there's a chamois over on the cliffs. And so I was waiting. I'm like, okay, in that cliff stuff, it's like, okay, you might be able to shoot something, but you also need to be able to recover it. And I was waiting, telling her, we've got to wait until we can get somewhere that we can recover it. Okay. So I'm looking, and it moves over to the right, and I think it's a perfect spot. It'll fall down the cliffs, and we'll be able to get to it and bring everything back. So I tell her to shoot, and she shoots, and it falls and like lands, like it's stuck halfway between this cliff. It's like this piece of rock that I didn't realize. So I thought, fuck, well, I'll just climb up there and go get it. And so I get down there, and the mountain's really, pretty much nearly vertical. I wouldn't say it was like technical climbing, but it's very, you've got to have 3-4 points of contact kind of thing. And so I start climbing up to it, and I didn't really think anything of it. I was just like, okay, I'm going to get this chamois and it'll be good. And it was really cold and kind of mossy, and my hands started to get cold and my feet started to get cold, and I climb up to it, and it's like what had happened was this rock had pulled off the mountain, and then the chamois had fallen into here. So I have to climb up above it and then kind of like scale over.
Oh, geez.
And then to get down to it, I have to like jump onto this little piece. So I'm like, all right. So I jump down to it, and I still haven't really thought anything of it. Like I jump to it, and I grab the chamois and I pitch it over the edge because I'm like, I'm gonna go to get it, and I pitch it over the edge, and watching it fall, like you throw something, and you're like, okay, it's gonna hit the ground, and it's falling and falling and falling. It took forever to hit the ground, and I realized how high up I was. And how far down it was, and just like how probably out of my skill set I was, and I just like literally started shaking. It was like this instantaneous, like watching it fall for so long. All I could picture was me just falling, and I started thinking to myself, I was like, I actually just then realized, I was like, I don't know if I can actually get out of here. Because I can't down climb what I came up. I'm not good enough to down climbing is really difficult for people that are like. And I had boots on. I mean, it wasn't like you got climbing shoes and it's solid surface and all this stuff. And I was like, man, I just put myself in a really shitty situation, and it freaked me out. And actually, so I kind of like sat there for a little bit and then regained my composure and decided, well, I got to climb up.
Oh my God.
Because that's the only way, and just hope that I can find a way down. So I climb up to the top, and luckily there was a route that I could get down like on the ridge and actually hike down.
But you didn't
I
even
didn't know
that,
right?
how to get up to the top, right?
No.
You didn't have a path.
No, I just had to climb up because I knew that I couldn't climb down.
Oh my God.
And then the whole time you're thinking, and like your hands are getting cold, and it was just like a really bad situation. I went above what I should have done, right? So I go down, I pick up the chamois, I put it on my back, and I carry it up to the lady, and she's like, I can't remember, she's like probably 70 years old. And I walk up, and she is bawling, and she comes up to me and just starts slapping me in the face. You're like, fuck you, you never do that again. Like, she thought I was going to die, right?
Oh, my God.
She's like, nothing is worth it. I'm like just freaking out, hysterical. I'm almost laughing, but she took me by surprise because I didn't know her very well. And she's just, every obscenity she could think of. She was screaming, slapping me, punching me, like just,
oh my God.
like, had lost it. And I really realized, I was like, man, I don't know. That was... I mean, I didn't almost slip, but also like I just put myself and now, like when I'm around those edges and ledges, I don't really like it as much as I used to. Like I haven't done anything stupid like that since.
Holy
because
fuck.
It's so easy. Like one slip, you fall, you're dead. It's
Dude,
so
feel my hand.
easy.
Feel my hand.
Those clammy.
Fully clammed out.
I don't like that.
I'm fully sweaty.
I don't know, and that's like, I think about that, and that's one of probably a few. For me, things that freaked me out, where I thought like I might not make it out of this.
God damn! Do you ever have nightmares of that one?
No, but when I'm like, I mean, I love mountain hunting and I love like that alpine experience, and I still do it. But when I get to those parts where it's like, okay, you just gotta, you think about it, you're like, one fall, I could die.
Yeah.
It freaks me out more than it used to, for sure. I don't know. Yeah, I don't like those.
That's how Cam's buddy died.
Yeah, well,
Cam's
yeah,
buddy Roy.
It happens, and that's the thing too. You get to like this, you have a lot of experiences in doing things, and Roy, you did that his whole life. I do that my whole life, but you literally one misstep and you die.
Yep.
And when you're hunting, when you're climbing, you're kind of like, okay, I've got this equipment, and I've got this, and I've got these kind of shoes and boots and ice axe or whatever you've got these things. When you're hunting, you're kind of like, well, I got to get up there, and I don't know how to get up there. And you start getting up there, and you're like, well, I just got to keep going. And you've got a heavy pack on, you've got big boots on, heavy boots, you've got gloves. Like, you just aren't really prepared for it in some ways.
Right, and the boots that like mountain hunters use are very different than the boots that a mountain climber would use.
Yeah,
like they use those things with the claws in them.
Yeah, crampons.
Yeah.
And I
Do you
actually
ever use those?
Yeah, I use those.
Yeah.
I've used them in snow and ice, and then also sometimes like on really steep mountains, you'll use it like even in the grass and stuff, just to keep that grip a little bit better.
Jesus.
Like really steep stuff. Yeah.
That's not good.
No.
That story scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, I didn't like that. And to be honest, like I won't put myself in those situations anymore. So it's probably that might have saved, like having that experience might have saved my life in many ways.
Because you realize like you
I just-
could make that error and get stuck in a situation. Yeah, fuck.
Yeah,
man.
now I think about it, and I was like, man, okay, it's like not worth it. It's not worth it.
No.
And I mean, you know, there's a lot of mountain guides or hunting guides or whatever that die every year, every couple of years from that.
Really?
Oh yeah, I mean like Roy, and I've heard of quite a few. You know, just being in these kind of circles.
Well, you got to realize those areas are often wet,
Yep.
often snowy.
Unstable surfaces.
Yeah, shale, all kinds
Yeah.
of
Loose
stuff.
rock.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
What's another one?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I had an experience where I was crossing a river one time with my pack on, and it was just like faster than I thought. Got swept down the river.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that one. It wasn't. I mean, I figured I could get out. You know, I think I've told on here before a story where I jumped in a river. I actually saved a lady. I didn't think I was going to get out of that one.
Yeah, you did tell
Yeah,
that story,
and then-
and you found the guy that was with her was dead. Was
Yeah.
floated by.
Yeah, and that was scary. And probably, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I've told you this story, but well, actually, like my wife was lost one time. That's actually, and I actually didn't think that I was going to find her alive. So that was actually probably one of the worst outdoor experiences that ended up turning out good, saved your life. But it
Was
wasn't
that
for my own safety.
how you
but for
met her?
hers. No, it wasn't how I met her.
So you'd already met her, and then
Yeah, I'd met her. We dated. Like she's younger than me, and like I'm traveling. She had moved away, and then we just kind of like went apart, and we were gonna get back together. This was like a couple years after, so we were not actually dating at the time. But I was on a trip in Alaska. I just got back, and then her sister called me and was like, "Danielle's missing," and we and like, you know, one of those like nobody can find her, and like maybe I have the skill set to go help out in some way. And so I like literally I was unpacking all this. I was doing a film thing in Alaska. I just got in maybe 5 minutes into my house. I just left all my shit. I called my brother and my friend and was like, Danielle's missing. We're going to go. So we gathered up our stuff and drove. She was in central Nevada. She was visiting her dad, and like just gone out on a trail and never came back. And so it was like it's like the high desert, maybe midsummer. So it's, you know, like pretty hot in the daytime, really cold at night, really high elevation kind of thing. And I think she'd been missing this would be going on her third day.
oh shit.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh shit. And there was so we got there, and there had been like a Facebook group, and they had the Black Hawk helicopters out looking, couldn't find her, search and rescue. They did the dog thing, everything. And so I got there, it was like probably 5 p.m. It's still daylight when I got there. And we get there and kind of talk to search and rescue, and I'm like, one of the guys kind of recognized me, knew who I was and what I did, and I had my whole pack, like I was ready to glass. Like we were gonna just, normally on search and rescue things, like they want people out of the area, but they knew that I knew what I was doing, so they let us in to help. And so kind of met with them, talked to them. There was a Facebook group thing of like what they'd seen, and there was this report of a vehicle with like Mexico plates leaving the area. And I don't know like how, you know, people start saying like, okay, I saw her last wearing this. So the last she'd been seen, she was just wearing like running stuff, didn't have any equipment with her. She'd gone up, and then the search and rescue dogs, like they went up the canyon and then they came back, and they did that multiple times. So the theory was like she went up, came back, and then they had kind of thought, since they put in a search effort, that she was gone, like taken. So, you know, that kind of shit's in your mind too, right?
Right.
So you're like, okay.
Because they saw a Mexico plate.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know why, you know, why that would, but
Kidnapping.
yeah, something, right?
Right.
Because they had they were working under the assumption that she wasn't there, like out there.
Right.
So, you know, they kind of asked, like, they do like a little interview, like, you know, how far do you think she go? And I was like, well, she trains for marathons. Like, she could be 20 miles from this point. We don't really know. You know, we don't know what happened either. Like, she could have fallen, broke. Like, we just don't know what happened.
Yeah.
So they showed us where the dogs had gone and where they'd inspected and everything. And I thought, I was like, my initial, like the way that I think was like, well, whatever you guys have done didn't work, right? So I'm just going to kind of take the things that you've said and look at it through a lens of like, that didn't work. So we've got to just try something different. So I loaded up my pack and I had like all my optics, everything. And I was just like, my thought was, I'm just going to go out there. And part of it too, I was kind of like a wreck in some ways where like, I'm not just going to sit around and do nothing.
Right.
So it's starting to get dark at this point. And my thought was like, I'm not coming back until I find something. So I just load up my pack like I'm going on a backcountry hunt with all my shit and just go back there and see what I can do. And I wanted to be, it was getting nighttime, so I wanted to be like ready first thing in the morning, thinking before that light gets harsh and she's in the shade. Like if you're trying to survive in the desert when it's super cold at night, so you're probably moving around to stay warm. And then in the morning, you'd probably still be moving around, but once it gets daytime, then you're probably in the heat and you're in the shade. So there was the guy, so they had Blackhawk and it had to go back because it had timed out. Like it needed fuel there at that point. And they were searching in the middle of the day, which I thought, it'd be better to search in the evening after the heat on the rocks cools off a little bit and you can use a FLIR system like thermals. Because everything in the desert cools down so fast that you might be able to find her at night using a thermal system. So I asked the guy if we could get a thermal FLIR system, and so they were working on getting something. And so I had one of the guys take me into the back. I just said, like, drive me as far. They had like these little Ranger things in the whole, or like off-road vehicle, like Polaris, yeah, or Can-Am or whatever. So I was like, just drive me as far back as you can. So drive me back, and now it's starting to get dark, and I had a big flashlight, and I just like looked at it before it got dark, and just looking around, I was like, oh, I'd probably go up here. No trail. I was like, man, we've hiked all over the world together. No trails. We never go on trails. So I just thought, I'll start going here. And now, but at this point, it's dark, and I just started hiking in the dark up this canyon. And it's probably probably close to midnight at this point. And I was thinking about, like a lot of shit's going through my head, thinking, man, what's it going to be like if I find her dead? And, okay, like, am I prepared for this? Or what if and the thing that really messed me up was, what if I never find her? Like, I just couldn't, and these things like kept going through my head. And I'm literally in the dark, hiking, and there's no moon at all, just hiking in the dark. I like just stopped, and I like felt very, very, very helpless. And I'm like literally praying for a sign of some kind. And I look down, and there's this weird scuff mark. And I'm like, I just keyed in on it. Randomly walking in the dark. And there's deer tracks everywhere. And I just start like following this one track. And it just didn't look right. But it's not like the kind of ground where you can see tracks. You know, I inspected it. I didn't see shoes. And I get up to this like flat bench area. And I just had this weird feeling. And I'm like, huh. And then I saw a light on the top of the mountain. So I thought, oh man, maybe that's somebody had come in, hiked in with thermals, and I can use that to then look for her, and I'll come back to this area. So I call my brother and my buddy on the radio. I'm like, hey, I'm up here, and they were looking around the rocks where the dogs had turned around, thinking maybe she went up there, fell into something, and got stuck, and like places normal search and rescue wasn't going to look. So they were looking in kind of those areas. So I hike up to where the light was on the hill, and it happened to just be like people that were in the area, like a couple that were just like whatever, camping. And I was like, hey, I talked to him. I was like, hey, here's a picture. Have you seen this person? No, we haven't seen anything. I was like, cool. Like the area's kind of closed down right now, just so you know, because they're looking for her. Like, cool, we'll keep an eye out. And so now I'm away from that spot. I just I started to think about it, and I was like, I called my brother and buddy, and they're like, yeah, we don't see anything around here. Like maybe we'll start first thing in the morning. And I was like, okay, I'm going to stay up here, and I'm going to go back to this spot. I'm just going to camp out up here or whatever. But I got to go check this spot first. So I walk back to that like little bench thing, and I sit down, I turn off my light, and I just yell out. I'm like, hey, Danielle, this is Remi. If you can hear me, I'm not leaving till I find you. And I'm just like sitting there, and then I hear, Remi? And I was like, oh shit. And it was so faint. I was thinking to myself, did I actually hear that? So I had my radio and I called my brother and friend and I said, hey, I just heard her. I'm going to turn my radio off in case maybe that's like, I'm only going to hear her one more time. I'm turning my radio off, get somebody up here. So, and I just said that over the radio because I didn't want the radio going off for some random reason while the next time she said something or whatever. So I flipped the radio off and I just started like moving in that direction where I heard something and I yelled out again and didn't hear anything and then kept moving and yelled out again. And before it got dark, I remember like there's this big basin, almost like a amphitheater kind of shape, right? And on the top side was all these cliffs and everything. So I thought, well, maybe I heard it across the canyon and she fell into one of those cliffs. So I'm like moving in that direction, but I'm trying to move like, you know, when you're chasing an elk and it's like that, you've got to run, but you can't run loud.
Right.
And you're like that stalking, running, like trying to be quiet because it was very, very faint. And still I'm partially thinking I'm going crazy. And so I get up to that. I keep going and I yell. I'm like, Danielle, can you hear me? And then I hear Remi, or I heard her. She actually said my name again. I was like, and I flipped on my light and she was like 300 yards below me. I was like, oh shit. So I run to her thinking like, oh, look, this is crazy. So I run up to her and she just was like so confused. And she was like, I think she thought she was like hallucinating. And I was like, are you okay? She's like, no. And I was like, do you know who I am? She's like, I think so. It's like, do you know your, like, just, like basic first responder questions.
Right,
like, can
right.
you answer some simple questions? Like, do you know your name? Like, no.
She didn't know her name.
Like, yeah, like, I don't know. I don't know. And I'm like, okay. And then so I called I flipped my thing on. I called my buddy and I was like, all right, I found, like, I've got her. We need like paramedics here now. And so my buddy they were probably 2 or 3 miles from the base camp. My buddy Joe just like takes off, just like sprinting down to the base camp. And then my brother is hiking up to me to help her. And so we didn't have service where we were, and I have a satellite messenger, but I left it in the truck. So my buddy goes down, and I think somehow somebody had called whoever, paramedics and the whole deal. And so my buddy Joe, this is the funny part, is my buddy Joe runs down to the search and rescue camp, and he's like, Remi found her, we need to go. And one of the guys that was kind of in charge was like an older guy. He not a guy that goes in the field or anything. Just he's like, somebody thought they heard something, but it could have been a mountain lion. So we're just gonna save our energy for the morning search. And my buddy Joe's like, he's like, fuck you, I'm commandeering your vehicle. And he just takes the razor thing, and just rips off toward town because like to go get some help.
What a cunt.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, who's ever heard, like, we thought we heard something, but it could have been a mountain lion? Like, that doesn't even make any sense.
You're saying you have her.
Right. Yeah, he's just like, I mean...
That's like a scene in a movie where there's this one lazy cop.
Yeah, exactly. It was just like, I was like, this is too crazy. Like, when he told me that story, I was just like rolling laughing. And also concerned, like, why the fuck would you say it could have been a mountain lion?
What a dick.
So they go up, and we end up. He meets up with them, and they get up to the top. They were able to like kind of get up this ridge, and then came down with a stretcher. And my brother and I were able to like do like a help her get up the mountain.
Did you give her water? Did she?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I gave her water. I'm like, here, drink this, and like she like as soon as it hit her lips, she like spit it out. She's like, fire, like.
So she was so dehydrated.
So dehydrated that like it just started like burning, like the water was burning.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And so we got her up to the paramedics, and then obviously to the hospital, and like a pretty extensive rehydration thing. And yeah, and like she wasn't feeling good when she went out, and I think it was just like, oh, I'm gonna go. When you're sick or whatever, you're just like not feeling good. You go out to do something to feel better. Probably went beyond capabilities, I think, and woke up and didn't know where she was.
So she went out kind of sick and thought she was going to sweat it out?
Yeah.
Wow. Just went on a run.
Yeah. And then
Fuck.
and then just had no clue. Had no clue, like where she. I think the good thing is when she didn't know where she was, she didn't go anywhere else. She stayed put, which is definitely because you just like have no clue where you are. You don't know where to start going.
They would have never found her if it
No.
wasn't for you.
I don't think so.
Wow.
I don't know.
Dude, she owes you.
Yeah, well, now we're married. So I got her back. And it's like it's a solid way to win an argument. You know, like I definitely think we should go here for dinner. Like, nah, I'm not really feeling that. But remember that time I saved your life?
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about a bond. Like
Yeah.
you guys have a bond forever.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's a pretty. I don't know.
That's a
pretty
crazy bond. That's a crazy bond.
Yeah.
The fact that you found her. And then the type of person that has the capability to do what you do on a daily basis. Like most people are not going to be able to get to her. They're not going to be able to have the understanding of how to navigate and how to get around, or they're not going to have like the aerobic capacity that you have. Like all those the times of hunting and camping and hiking, and like you have crazy sick cardio.
Yeah, it was like a lifetime of essentially spending my entire life looking for things that are hard to find and then using it in a way that was more beneficial than anything else I'd ever done in many ways.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's like, you never know the the skills that you gain over life, what you get to use them for.
How long did it take before she recovered?
A while. She definitely. I didn't realize the level of how out of it you are in those situations. Like that was my major not understanding. You hear those stories of like people, like they're snowmobiling, right, and they get stuck and they find them naked, dead, and you go like, I had never experienced that or seen people in that. You hear about it, but that's not the first thing that pops in your mind. You think like, oh, I found you, everything's fine, but you don't realize like the mental toll that it takes on people either. Just like not, and being like, essentially freezing at night. It's one of those days in Nevada where it gets like, it'll be 100 in the day and like probably 34 at night. Or 80, 90 in the sun in the day, and then really big temperature swings that time of year in the high country because you're up at 10, 12,000 feet, probably 10,000 feet, something like that.
And she's just dressed for jogging.
Yeah.
No water.
No, nothing.
And so she was out there for 3 days?
Going on the third day, yeah. Which is, in those kind of situations, pretty much...
The verge of death.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many days can you go without water?
About 3. Yeah. Especially when you're already taxed and yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah, it was a and I mean on her end too, it took a while of just the essentially the PTSD of like an experience like that where it's like you're doing something you love and you're whatever and you just it was pretty crazy.
Wow. How long was it before she was 100% again?
I don't know, a while, like maybe 6 months.
Holy shit!
Well, I mean, just like of like the experience.
Oh, the mind and everything.
Yeah,
back to normal.
no, like I mean, back to like physical shape, like a couple days.
Oh,
yeah.
Man, that's got to be the most memorable one, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Fuck.
Probably the most scared I've ever been too. Scared for someone else. I don't get as scared for myself in most situations. But now having a kid and a family, I get scared for them if something goes down for me, if that makes sense. Like I'm not a person that like is very concerned about my own safety in this weird way.
Yeah.
But now I've got like, well, it's like having a kid and it's like
it's a game changer.
Yeah, it's a game changer. You know what's funny? It's a weird thing, but I actually, when I had my daughter, she's 10 months old now. I had my daughter, and you popped into my head for this reason of the first time we talked. I don't even, was it 8, 7, 10? I don't, a long time ago. How many years ago was that?
A long time ago.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
And you said something, and I agreed with you, and in my mind, I was thinking, this guy's fucking crazy. You said something about it was the first time you're hunting. I can't remember if it was on the podcast or just when we were talking. You said, you're like, the first time you went hunting, you're like, yeah, there's been very few experiences in my life where I felt like that. I don't even know if you remember saying this. And you said, you're like, having my kid was the first, like, it was like that. And I don't know if you remember saying that. And I was like, you said that. And I thought, that is the weirdest thing to say. I can't wrap my head around it. And then I had a baby and I'm like, oh yeah, I get what he's talking about. It is the most primal, like, it's a very weird experience. I was like, oh, actually, he wasn't full of shit.
It breaks the mundane pattern of everyday existence in a way that's so undeniable that you realize, like, there's like a chemical, biological, genetic connection that you have to this child and the mother and this experience, and like you're so locked in a way that you didn't think you were ever going to be with anything. Like, you didn't even know that feeling was available to people.
Correct.
Like, I had always knew that people had kids, and I love babies. I love everybody. It's great. Having kids must be great. Now you got a kid. Congratulations. But until you see a baby come out of a woman, and it's your child and it's her child, and you made this child together, and now this child's alive, and then every cell in your body fires up, and it's like okay, now we're in dad mode. Now you're in protector mode. Now you're in, you gotta, like, I became way more ambitious. I started working harder. I was way more disciplined, like everything, way more attentive. I was like, holy, this is real. First time I went hunting, I remember just locking eyes, because Ranella took me in, that was in Montana. And I remember locking eyes on the mule deer and realizing it was about to go down, and then getting him in my sights. I wound up dropping him. I wound up hitting him in the spine, and he dropped, and then I finished him off. We had to get up close to him and finish him off. And when I finished him off, it was like, I was like, this is like almost psychedelic in the way it changes the way you feel about things. Like, when we were cutting that animal up and then we were eating the animal, I was like, this is one of the most primal things I've ever experienced. And it's in many ways not like having a kid, in that it's not the same kind of feeling, but also it's a feeling that you didn't know was available.
Yeah.
Like, that it was so primal, and it felt so natural. It's like my body was like, yep, this is how you do it. This is what you have to do if you want to get meat. You have to kill the animal. Once you kill the animal, you get this feeling of completion, of satisfaction, of like this human reward system that kicks in, that lets, because for fucking untold thousands of years, when someone shot an animal and killed an animal, it meant that was going to feed your family, and that was a good thing, and it wanted to reward you with that good feeling so that you could continue to survive, and that your genes would carry on and the human race would survive.
Yeah, it's like that. That's the best way to say it, is a feeling that you didn't know was even there.
Yeah, you didn't know it was available.
You didn't know. It's like you can explain it, but it's not something. Same thing when somebody's like, "Oh yeah, that's great. This, that, and the other thing." Okay, but you don't know that shift of something that's just innate, that just happens, and you can only access that by experiencing it.
The moment I shot that mule deer, I mean, and it's on the show, we talked about it. Well, Ranella was like, so what are your thoughts on hunting? I'm like, I'm doing this forever. I'm like, this is what I'm doing. Like, that, I'm 100% sure this is how I'm going to get meat now. Like, the moment when we were sitting over that campfire and we were eating the deer that we had just shot, hours earlier, and we're cooking it and eating it, and it was so delicious and it was so fresh. I was thinking, of course this is what I'm going to do now. This is what I'm going to do. Like, cool. I'm not going to not do this. Like, this was fucking amazing. It was really hard to do. It was difficult. It was 9 degrees outside. We're camping, freezing our dicks off, and fucking hiking forever. And the satisfaction of completing the task and getting the deer and eating the deer, I was like, oh, I found some new shit I really like. Like, this is my new thing. And since then, it's been a giant part of my life. And that was 10 years ago, exactly 10 years ago when I started hunting. It was 2012.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was fucking awesome. I owe Ranella forever for that.
That's really cool.
Because it changed who I am as a person, changed my relationship to food.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird thing, too. Like, when you experience that as hunters, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, you go hunting? And yeah, I mean, obviously, for me, it's a little extreme.
You got to shut that thing
Yeah,
off.
sorry.
Whatever you got,
know.
goddamn Android phones. You don't even know how to shut them off, do you?
No, it's brand new.
Do.
It's like completely turned.
You're one of those guys that's the die-hardiest Android guy I know.
I am, yeah. Did you go back? Did you switch back to the Apple?
I have
phone?
two. I have an iPhone, and the problem is my fucking whole family has iPhones, and so they're always sharing, they're airdropping
Right.
stuff, and then I also use this phone as I have Apple TV, so I use
Yeah.
my phone as a remote because it's way better than the
It's
remote
like connected
that comes.
in the system.
Yeah, it's like they get you.
They do.
The motherfuckers get you.
I know. I'm a feature rich guy, you know. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't even like to communicate with people, so it's perfect. Like, I don't need the sharing. I'm just like, I'll talk to you.
The thing about the iPhone iMessage that's so much better is that you can get videos and images, and they'll come in full resolution.
Yeah.
Whereas if you text me a video, it's going to look like diggity dog shit by the time it gets to my
I
phone.
know. I use WhatsApp a lot, though.
Yeah.
A lot of people like I've got a lot
That's
of
great
friends
if you
all
live in
over the
another
place.
country.
Yeah,
This is
exactly.
America, motherfucker. We
I
don't
know.
use WhatsApp.
Exactly.
No, it's not. I mean, there's a small percentage of people use WhatsApp in America.
Yeah.
I use Signal, though. Signal's really good. And Signal is very similar in that you could send like higher resolution videos and audio, and you can actually use it for calls and stuff like that. I think you can use Signal for video call as well, but it's
cool.
encrypted peer to peer, so it's not like it's going to a third party server or anything like that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but
I
either
have tried
way,
that one.
I had this guy Gavin DeBecker on as a security expert. Said, listen, even so, they're still listening to all your phone calls. They're still looking at everything you send. Everything. There's no privacy anymore. I was
Yeah.
like, really? He's like, there's no privacy. I was like, so it's not, doesn't have to be like an app that you accidentally download. He's like, no. All they have to do is have your phone number. Yeah.
Oh, I don't send anything. I was like, I don't care who sees
I say
it.
that too, but it's not what concerns me. What concerns me is that the government, these creeps that, and a lot of them aren't even elected, there's just people that are bureaucrats that have been embedded into the system forever, essentially have access to every fucking person on the planet's text messages and
Yeah.
emails. Anytime you send something, they have access to it. That's real right now.
Well, yeah, and in a text message, you don't get the whole context. You don't know what you were talking to your buddy 5 minutes before.
Well,
you
it's like
send
did that bit about it last night.
I was laughing so hard. It was so great because it was so true. I mean, it's like
so
everything's
true.
so out of context.
Yeah, if my wife was my employee, I'd be in jail.
It's like you don't know the context around this.
Yeah, I mean, you could take any one of the texts that I send with my comedian buddies that we send to each other.
Yeah.
Any one of them is horrible if you don't understand what's going on. Like comedians will say, these guys will say the most horrible shit to me through text message just so we could laugh.
Yeah.
Because we've fucking heard it all, right? I've been a comic for 30 plus years. So like comedians that are also comics, like to shock them, they'll send me the worst things and the worst images, the worst videos, and ha ha ha, and then with a joke attached to it. And people are like, you guys are terrible. Like, but to who? To
Right.
each other?
Yeah.
No, we like it works with us. Like it's the only way to get me to laugh.
You're just so numb and desensitized. It's got to just keep going up.
Well, it's also like we're playing a game with each other, right? Because like we're in the business together. So it's
Yeah.
like to shock me, you know, you have to send me some ruthless shit, and so there's a lot that comes my way.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because I'm paying attention to this Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial, and I'm realizing like the old text messages. If you get into divorce, man, they'll fucking come up in a trial.
Oh yeah.
That trial's horrible to watch. I can't look away.
I just saw that on the news. I haven't even been paying attention to it. So I was like, I didn't even know what it was. If you look at it from my perspective, not knowing what was going on and then trying to read stuff, I was like, what the fuck kind of circus is this, right? I was like, wait, and I've been missing this? What?
It's actors. That's what it is. They are broken people. And it's a system that doesn't allow you to ever become a full, like, normal functioning member of society, because you're coddled and you're treated in this very bizarre way, and you're isolated from everyone else except for all the people that are your handlers, or the people that are your sycophants, or the people that are your, the people that love you, and publicists and agents and people that make a living off of you. So that is your existence. And then you're married to a fucking crazy bitch who throws bottles at you and wants to kill you if you don't sign a prenup, or if you want her to sign a prenup rather. And it's wild. That relationship is, and watching her sit there and try to act like she's not a psychopath while all this is going on, while they're playing the audio recordings of her talking about hitting him and all the craziness. Like, she recorded all their conversations. That alone, like, if that's not the biggest fucking red flag, like, she recorded dozens and dozens of conversations where he had no idea that he was being recorded. It's fucking crazy.
That's the thing about now. So much of everybody's life is recorded.
Yeah.
And you don't...
But she's recording them. I don't know if it's dozens and dozens, whatever it was that they kept introducing to the trial. But that was her recording things, right? Wasn't it like surreptitiously? Either way, that's a crazy bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing that got me is all the people in the watching the case.
Yeah.
That was the thing. I was like, I want to know their story. The people that like traveled from around the world to go sit in the courtroom.
Where is it happening? It's in Virginia or something, right?
Yeah.
I wonder why they did it in
I
Virginia.
looked that up yesterday. It's because he's suing her for defamation for like an op-ed she posted, and the servers for the newspaper that it was posted in are hosted in Virginia. So there's some law that allows the trial to happen there.
Oh,
It's
wow.
very confusing.
How strange. Mm-hmm. So is the jury from Virginia as well?
Probably, yeah.
Good luck with that jury. I don't think any jury is going to listen to her and not think she's out of her fucking mind. You would have to be the most hardcore man-hating feminist, one of those women that's just been fucked over by man after man after man her whole life, to the point where fuck all men. You'd have to be that woman to listen to that lady and not think she's out of her fucking mind.
I haven't even followed it enough to know, like...
She hasn't even testified yet. This is all only going by her recordings and his, recounting of the encounter, and her terrible lawyer. She has terrible lawyers too, which is fun. I love a good bad lawyer. One of the lawyers objected to his own question.
Really?
Yeah, someone responded, to it, and he said, "Objection, hearsay." She's like, "You can't object to your own question." Oh yeah. It's just a mess, man, because this poor guy has been like he's definitely a mess. Johnny Depp is a mess, a hot mess of cocaine and booze and chaos, but by all accounts, seems like a really nice guy. I talked to him on the phone once because he was going through this years ago, by the way. I talked to him on the phone about the same case because I'm friends with Doug Stanhope, and him and Stanhope were hanging out, and he's like, Stanhope is drunk. He's like, "Hey, Johnny Depp wants to talk to you." And I said, "Give him my number. Let's talk." So I'm on the beach in Hawaii, and I'm on the phone with Johnny Depp. And Johnny Depp is telling me all the chaos that's going on in his life. Eventually, I'll do your podcast, and we'll talk about this, but this is my life. This is what I'm going through. I'm like, holy fuck, dude. So he's telling me all this shit. And she had threatened to sue Stanhope because Stanhope published a letter on what a con artist she is. He published like some sort of what did Stanhope do? Stanhope, he posted something, right? It was like wrote an article, I think, while it was all going down, and she was accusing him of hitting her and all kinds of crazy stuff about what a con artist she is. And he's like, just understand this. This woman is a fucking con artist, and she threatened to sue him, so he took it down, but he had already gotten it out there, to the point where people had sort of started going, what's going on here? And then all Johnny Depp's former girlfriends were all like, no, he never even raised his voice. He's a nice guy. Like, maybe he yelled, but like, he's not an abuser. This is nonsense. This is crazy. And she said that she used a specific type of makeup to cover up her bruises, but it turns out that makeup wasn't even invented then. Like, it launched years later.
Huh.
So she's just a nut. Those are the people you see crying in films when they act really good.
That's what he posted.
Here it
That's
is.
what he posted. But
Johnny Depp is being blackmailed by Amber Heard. Here's how I know. Guest column by Doug Stanhope. Oh, so it's still available?
yeah, the website that I'm looking this up still has it.
And
That's
so this
where it
was 2016. So this is 6 fucking years ago, and this is still going on. That's what can happen. Update. Amber Heard's attorney says the claim that Heard is blackmailing Johnny Depp is unequivocally false. No, it's not. No, it turns out it's not. No, she's a fucking monster.
That's crazy.
Yeah. There you go, bro. You got a good one. That's how you do it. If you want to have a good relationship, rescue them.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Save a woman from dying of dehydration and freezing to death in the Nevada desert, and that's how you get a good one.
Yeah. It works for me.
So you guys go on a lot of trips together now, but now that you have the baby, how are you going to handle that?
We've been bringing the baby on a lot of stuff too.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's not
You
as
have like
easy.
a chest rig?
Yeah.
You have to like adjust your anchor?
I originally thought I was going to do that. I was like, yeah, I got this thing. And then once I actually figured it, I was like, that's not going to work at all.
At all. No.
I got these ideas that would not.
Maybe you
work at
can
all.
rifle hunt if the kid has earmuffs.
Yeah,
But
earmuffs.
even then, you're like, you don't want that.
Yeah, the backpack thing would probably work, but I wouldn't do it because if they reached over and touched, it's not even worth messing with.
Right. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to like duct tape their hams down.
Yeah.
Like,
And I think if
Swaddle
you did
them.
that wouldn't be good. So,
they definitely wouldn't be quiet if
Yeah.
you're trying to stalk something.
yeah.
Yeah. Have you thought about like introducing your kid to fishing and hunting and stuff like that? And
Yeah.
How you do it?
I think it's something that we do so much.
Right.
So it's just part of our life. But I've actually thought about it in the way of, I don't know, anything that your parents do, and like it's what we do all the time. So I don't know if that would be like something that makes her into it, or if it's something that will detract her from it. And I don't really
so
know.
careful about that with my kids because my kids did martial arts when they were young, and I always like say, hey, you guys want to take a class or something like that? If you want, let me know. Like, no, I want to do this. And my one daughter is really into gymnastics, so that's like her focus. But my youngest daughter, every now and then, she'll bring it up because I let her hit me.
Yeah.
So like she's 11 now, and she's fucking strong, and she hits me with leg kicks. Like she's allowed to leg kick me full blast, which you'd be surprised how much it hurts.
Oh, yeah.
An 11-year-old leg kicks you. I'm like, this is amazing. Because like if a grown man my size leg kicked me, I'd be a cripple. Like I'd fall to the ground crying because she leg kicks me, and I'm like, ow. Like this is, and she loves it. She loves that she can hurt me.
Oh, I bet.
Then she goes, let me do it again. I go, okay, one more. Whap, ow. I'm like, damn, these are good. I'm like, these are good, solid shin. You're getting me like right in the meat of the leg. Like, this is good stuff. But I try not to push, you know? My oldest daughter does it with me. But like with the 11-year-old, it's like just a delicate balance of like making it available, but not pushing it.
Yeah.
She likes to fish. We fish together, but we're actually going to go alligator hunting together. That's going to be her
That's
first
cool.
hunt.
That'll be,
Yeah.
that's another thing that's at the very bottom.
Exactly.
Of the list.
She fucking hates alligator. Everybody hates them. And so we were planning this thing to Florida, and while we were going down to Florida, you know, my one daughter had plans, and she was going to do this, and her and I, my youngest and I, were going to go fishing, and I was arranging activities for us. I'm like, okay, I got this thing. We're going to set up some fishing on this day. And I go, what do you think about alligator hunting? And her little eyes lit up. And she goes, could I get like alligator skin stuff? I go, yeah. I go, we could actually like make bar stools. We'll cover the bar stools in alligator skin, and we'll eat the alligators. She's like, okay. And I was like, oh, okay, we got something now. So that her first hunt will be a fucking alligator hunt, which is a wild thing for
That
an
is.
11-year-old.
That's
you
cool.
know? It's going to be interesting.
Alligator's actually pretty good too. It's like that.
I heard it's delicious if
Yeah.
you get it fresh.
Yeah.
I've
I've
only
only
had
had
it.
it fried though. It's like can you really judge it if it's fried? I've never had like barbecued alligator tail, but
Have you had it like fresh, or have you only had it at a restaurant?
I have had it fresh once. Yeah.
Yeah. They say that's a big, like, I had mahi-mahi once. My wife and I went fishing in Mexico, and we caught mahi-mahi, and we brought it back to the hotel, and we had it within 2 hours of us catching it. Like, literally, we caught these fish. 20 minutes later, after we caught them, we caught 2 fish. 20 minutes later, we were at the dock. an hour later, we were dropping it off at the restaurant. 40 minutes after that, we were eating it. It was amazing. It was fish. Out of all the things, like, there's a big difference between fresh fish and fish that's not fresh. And this was, all mahi-mahi is delicious, but this was particularly, like, tasty. It's like there was something about it, and I realized, like, wow, there's something really lost when that animal sits around for a while.
For sure. And a lot, like most of the fish you get in a restaurant or whatever, it's been frozen.
Yeah.
And you really do. It's weird how it tastes different, but it actually tastes less fishy. But it doesn't taste like the textures. It's more the texture and the feel. It just is way better.
It's way better.
A lot of people have never experienced fish like that either.
No, a lot of people never, like, you catch it and cook it on the shore.
Yeah.
Like, catch a trout and cook it, like, pan fry it right there on the shore. Oh my God, it's so delicious.
Yeah.
But they say that's the same thing with alligator. That was my point.
Really?
Is that alligator, supposedly, if you get fresh alligator, it's supposed to be fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know if I've had it that fresh then. I mean, yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
You have to report back.
I will definitely report back because I'm going to eat the shit out of that alligator. I hate those things. I really do. I hate them. I lived in Florida when I was a little kid. From age 11 to 13, we lived in Gainesville. And that was back when alligators were protected. And one of them snatched up this lady's dog. And I remember thinking, like, how gross it is that they let these things just roam around. And they're like, oh, they're protected. I'm like, fuck them. I was 11, and I was like, fuck them. We need to kill those cunts. Like, there's giant dinosaurs running around killing people's dogs. And everybody's like, well, we got to make sure we have a stable population. Put them in the fucking swamp. Get them out of here. Like, if you see them anywhere near where people live, you should fucking shoot them.
They're just walking across golf courses.
Giant ones.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Giant ones now. Well, now they're open for hunting. And now they have a lot of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They've definitely been rehabilitated.
Beyond. It's really crazy in some places. Like, I was watching that Swamp People show, and, they give commercial tags to these folks for, to go out and get alligators. And this guy had a tag for 500 alligators. So he had 500 alligator tags. Like, that was his commercial allotment.
And those are the ones that they sell, like, restaurants
and
products and leathers. And
a lot of products and leathers, which is hilarious because there's so many of them, but California won't let you sell the skin.
Really?
They're so dopey. They ban the sale of alligator and exotics, and they won't let you sell python. Meanwhile, Florida is infested with pythons. There's so many goddamn pythons that they've killed all the mammals in the Everglades.
It's crazy. Something that's another thing you'd have to eradicate. You'll never get a stable ecosystem because there's pythons that were never supposed to be there.
Never.
That have nothing to compete against.
Nothing.
They just swallow whatever their
They
competition
eat alligators.
is. Yeah.
We showed a picture the other day of one that had a 12-foot alligator in its stomach.
That's crazy.
And they're out there. Hundreds of thousands of them. Filled the swamps with pythons. They did some estimate of the amount of wildlife that has been eradicated because of pythons, and it's bananas. It's like 99% of the mammals in the Everglades are gone.
That's nuts.
99% of the raccoons, 99% of the deer. Like, there's almost nothing left.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's just some dipshit in the 1970s that had pythons for a pet. And it's like, can't feed you anymore, little bro. Running out of money,
Chuck them in the swamp.
Yeah, they just chucked them in the swamp. Think they'll be fine, and here we are.
I guess they were fine, yeah.
Yeah, for a little while.
They did good, yeah.
But here we are 50 years later. Now
Just
it's a
overrun.
giant problem. There's 500,000 of them, they think.
Wow. Yeah, you'll never get that under control.
You'd have to literally drain the swamp. They
Yeah.
told drain the swamp thing? Yeah, actually drain the swamp. But you can't drain the swamp.
No.
So shut the fuck up. You've got a problem forever. And what are you going to do? Put something in there that eats pythons? Well, that thing doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So you're going to genetically engineer a crocodile that only eats pythons? Like, what are you going to do? You're not going to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
How does
a
that
crazy
play out?
situation.
That doesn't play out well.
No. Yeah, unless there's that's the thing. If you opened up some kind of market for it, made it valuable for people to go get them, but then you run into that problem. Like, when there's a lot of them, it's good and it's worth the money.
Yeah.
But when it's not worth the money and the time, then so the entire goal is, I don't know how.
I think it would be worth the
manage
money.
that.
I think if they, I know they have come up with rewards for
I've seen
people to kill pythons. But the fact that Florida, or excuse me, California, won't let you even sell python skin is so stupid because it's not based on any logic. There's not a shortage of pythons. They're just fucking idiots. They're just idiots that interfere with people's lives and these weird moral high ground decisions that they make. Like, fuck you. You can't have alligator things? Why? How come you can kill alligators? How come they think you have to? How come wildlife biologists suggest that a certain number of them need to be removed from the population, but you can't sell alligator skin goods?
Yeah.
Because you guys are fucking idiots.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
It doesn't have to make sense. It's all about optics to them. It's like, we're going to ban the use of exotics because we think it's just cruel. Like, why is that more cruel than cow leather? Explain. Why is it more cruel than your Uggs that you wear or your sheepskin? Why?
Right.
Explain. There's no explanation. It's just, but that is the fact that exists at a policy level, that exists like the state laws. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that's true. Make sure that alligator is banned in California.
Yeah, I'm looking at as of 2020.
Yeah.
January 1st. And this doesn't have a reason why.
There's no reason why. That's what's crazy. It doesn't make any sense.
They added fur too, or if it's coming for all fur.
Yeah. Various lizards.
2023.
Yeah. Like, again, lizards. We were talking about iguanas in Florida. How many people hunt iguanas now?
Oh, yeah.
Because iguanas they're ever. They apparently freeze to death and then thaw and come back to life.
Yeah, they just get so cold that they just shut down and fall out of trees or something.
Yeah.
I've heard. Yeah.
And then it warms up and they come back to life.
Yeah. It's like a miniature hibernation of some sort.
So weird, man.
It is.
Yeah, I think they can act. There's some animals that can actually freeze solid, and then when they thaw out, they're alive again.
I had like this crawdad trap in a lake, and I forgot about it. I thought, oh shit, I forgot about that trap, and it was winter time, so it'd been frozen for a month maybe, and I chipped like the ice open to pull the trap out. And there was a frog, like a bullfrog in it. I was like thinking, oh, well, he's clearly dead because he probably would have got in there before it froze. Who knows how long it had been in there. And it was like one of those warm days, and it was alive still. The thing came back to life.
I think that's the animal I'm thinking of. I think it's frogs. I think frogs can freeze solid and then come back to life.
It made no sense.
Got 6 animals that can do it.
Whoa.
Including an alligator.
Of course, an alligator can.
Yeah.
Alligators don't have to eat for a year. Kill them. Kill that thing. Doesn't have to
crazy.
eat for a year. It can just sit there and wait. A year.
That's nuts. And then they can freeze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They freeze solid too and come back to life?
Because
What are the other ones?
one's a caterpillar, so that's not technically an animal. Wood frog, caterpillar, alligator, painted turtle hatchling, iguana, and a darkling beetle, which is also not an animal.
So iguanas actually can freeze solid and come back to life. Wow. They're big too. That's what's really wild. We played a video once of these guys hunting them, and one guy shot a 5-foot long one. I mean, it's this giant ass lizard, and they chopped it up and made like a teriyaki sauce and made like
chicken.
wings. Yeah, like chicken.
Yeah, that's one of the things, I guess, if you want people to eat it, you got to change the name of what you're eating. Like call it like
Venison,
Yeah,
right?
or like
Venison is over deer,
they
right?
need something Chilean sea bass, like some dogtooth fish or something.
Yeah, what do you think we could call it? What do you think you can call iguana?
Palm chicken, maybe.
Have you ever had iguana?
I haven't. No.
It's a weird way to hunt because they hunt them in like canals and people's backyards, so it's very urban. Like there's tons of video. So they use bow fishing equipment and they just
Air rifles or something.
yeah,
too. Yeah.
but there's a lot of bow fishing equipment because you hit them and they don't always go down.
Oh, gotcha.
They jump in the water and then you got to pull them out. But they're fucking big, man. These are big creatures,
Yeah.
and with all the food that's available in Florida, they have just constant food.
Taking over.
Yeah, they're big.
Something to feed the snakes, I suppose.
Maybe. I don't think they live in the same spot, unfortunately.
Huh.
The snakes stick to the swamp, and the iguanas stick to your yard.
Oh.
And they're
gotcha.
aggressive. They'll run after you too,
Huh.
which is not fun.
No. Being chased by giant lizards.
Yeah.
There's got to be somebody that can market that, like make dino nuggets out of them or something. I feel like that would be the.
What is that?
What do you think?
Iguana entree prepared on the grill is plated and ready to be served. What is this?
This article from USA Today about iguanas falling, but people eating them in Latin America and Trinidad.
There's tons of video on YouTube of hunters and fishermen that are killing and eating iguanas, and they say it's good. Like, I guess it's probably like one of those things you just figured out how to cook it correctly.
Yeah, it looks like a white meat too.
Yeah.
Probably like anything fish or chicken.
Puerto Rico, there's more iguanas than people. The government launched a program in 2012 to kill and export as many of the lizards as possible. Many on the island have also tried to popularize iguana consumption, but residents haven't warmed to the idea. Well, you just gotta fucking
you gotta
cook it right.
you gotta do a PR thing. It's gotta be, you've got to change the name, and people have to kind of lose the thought of an iguana, because
I think
there's just certain things people
hungry.
don't want to eat
They just got to get hungry.
or get hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a food shortage, I mean, iguana eating might just spike.
I don't know. I mean, is there enough to sustain people? Maybe there is in
know.
Puerto Rico, but that's about it. Puerto
Yeah.
Rico and Florida. That's the thing. Like,
Two
those
places.
things, they need a really, like, even in Florida, sometimes it gets too cold and they fall out of trees. People have died because they fell and hit them in the head.
Really, that's bad luck. That's not good.
Yeah, forget about lightning. How many
Yeah,
people
it's
die
like
from iguanas
You're
falling
watching the
off?
trees for frozen iguanas.
That
on a
might
cold
not be
day.
true, though. That might be a rumor. Find out if people actually have died from.
I would imagine some
falling
cars have had
iguana.
damage.
Oh, yeah. I imagine cars. I guarantee you a few people have been clipped.
Have to.
Yeah, but how much does an iguana weigh? Like, actually, one of the big ones, probably pretty fucking hefty. Like, this one lady who shot one, she was holding it. I don't know how big she was, but she had her arms outstretched like she's holding up a marlin. And this goddamn giant dead lizard is in her arms. And I was like, I had no idea they were that big. Maybe she's a tiny lady.
Or
But,
holding it out like
yeah,
a fish picture.
Yeah, right. That's a tricky thing.
Yeah. It's hard to tell.
The perspective shots.
Right.
Yeah, that's a big thing with people with animals, like hiding behind it when they take a grip and grin.
Yeah.
That's something that I think they changed that, but YouTube for a while was going to they were going to stop people from showing animals being butchered, and they were going to stop kill shots. I don't know if they did it, but I remember it was a big conversation, and a lot of people that have hunting programs, and I know you do Solo Hunter, and you
Yep.
release those. Those are on YouTube, right?
Yeah, and I've got my own YouTube channel as well.
Did
I
they
release a lot of stuff on?
wind up implementing that?
Not that I know of. I haven't seen anything.
So you didn't even pay attention to
No,
it?
you know what it might have been is like sometimes like if for people that monetize stuff, there's different rules as well.
Mm-hmm.
Which I understand. You know, you're getting random advertisers on there, and they might not
Right.
want certain things. So some people might have had problems like, oh, they're blocking this from whatever. Well, you know, it's more based on the monetization thing, because there's you sign up for different rules when you do that.
Yeah, that's an issue that happened during the pandemic, where they really ramped up on the amount of episodes of things that got demonetized, and a lot of people thought like, oh, this is like some sort of a plot to censor people, and like it's more a plot to make money.
Yeah.
They just want to make sure they maximize the advertiser money, and the advertisers essentially are the ones that dictate what kind of program is allowed on the network. And one of the things that we found out during the pandemic was that pharmaceutical advertisers are 75% of all the ads on television.
I believe that.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Just
Here it goes.
can't find anybody dying from. I can't even find anybody getting injured from it.
Near freezing temperatures have led to many falling right out of the trees they call home this morning. While unusual, it's not the first time iguanas have plummeted to the ground from trees due to a sharp fall in temperature. Okay, so it just says they're falling.
Yeah, it can be dangerous if they land. Male might weigh up to 20 pounds or something like that.
Yeah, somebody told it to me, and I was like, I'm just going to start saying this.
What?
That people have died.
Not unrelated to right now. When we were talking about the cloned tiger meat the other day.
Yes.
I was trying to look up hard. Where do people even need to eat that? Like, where are they eating tiger steaks?
Right.
Couldn't find it.
Well, it's not available yet. There's the company, the startup is about.
To even desire that, why would someone want to have tiger meat? You know,
No,
where are they
there's
eating
no commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, nobody eats it. Well, I'm sure people have eaten it in the past, but there was this one article that I read. I want to say it was in Vanity Fair or Esquire or something like that. But it was essentially this guy had infiltrated some. There was like a club, and they would meet, and they would meet like once a year. I think it was in China, and they would eat endangered species. And they had like they would serve you like lion, and they would serve tiger, and they would serve shit that you're absolutely not supposed to eat. And that there was like this secret club of people that would get together and eat like a gourmet meal of endangered species.
I'm all for like eating wild meat, but sustainable wild meat. That's like really weird. I wouldn't go out of my way for something like that, obviously. But you see some stuff too. I guess I saw an article. They seized this dude that had in Spain some private museum of all. Have you seen that?
No.
It's like this. They uncovered this museum. He had a like full-on natural history museum in a warehouse of very rare, some like extinct in the wild animals. But you don't know where some of the stuff came from either. But it was like
were
this.
They dead or alive?
Yeah, dead, like taxidermy,
oh, wow.
whatever. But pretty much everything, and not knowing where he got him or how he got him, I guess.
Did he spill the beans?
I don't know. All I saw was they had like pictures of it, and it looked like a pretty legit museum in a warehouse.
Is this recent?
Yeah, it was maybe 4 days ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people, I mean, you don't have like a trophy room in your house, do you?
No.
What do you do with do you mostly Euro mount your stuff?
Yeah, I've got some stuff around the house, but we don't have a lot of space, so.
There's a guy that I know that has a lot of dough. He's got a lot of cash, and he's got a room in his house that's, I want to say it's as big as, like, it's as big as a small restaurant.
Yeah.
And it's just filled with taxidermy. Like, it's like you go in this room and it's like, oh my God. Like everywhere you look, it's like sheeps and deer, and it's just
all kinds of stuff.
That's the trophy room is a weird thing. That's a weird one.
I don't know. Like there's certain parts of hunting where people that don't do it don't understand.
Right.
But like it's like, okay, you've got this deer here, right? And I look at it and it's just a deer, but you look at it, the meat from that deer, I don't know if you shot that, but if you did, it's like the meat is long gone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Everything's gone. But when you look at that, that animal lives on in your memory way longer than anything else that you would ever get at the store or anything like that. Like you have a personal connection with that. And when you look at it, it's a weird thing to explain to somebody that doesn't hunt, but in a way, it's like I love animals so much, and maybe in some ways, like that's almost honoring the memory of that animal to you.
It certainly is, and it's in many ways it's art. It's nature's art. I look at a skull, and I only have European mounts. For people that don't know what that means, a European mount is just the skull and the antlers together. When you see a stuffed mount like of a deer head on a wall, you're looking at a doll. It's like fake eyeballs, and underneath it is like a foam sort
it's
of
like a sculpture.
It's a sculpture, and oftentimes it's not even the actual hide of the animal that you shot. Like if the animal you shot is a fucked up hide, they'll give you a cape that you can put over, or you could buy one that you could put over your mount. So it's the only thing that's really from your animal is the antlers. Everything else is just bullshit.
Yeah, but in some ways, you're like, okay, you look at it as a hunter, and you're like, okay, it's like.
It looks like the thing.
Yeah, you're like, that's great. And a lot of I've got a friend that's an incredible taxidermist, and the stuff that he does is it looks like art.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really good.
Listen, it is art.
Yeah.
I mean, when you mount a mountain lion, it's like this, and you remember that you actually shot that mountain lion, and it's in your house now. You can look. It's a great visual representative, but my mind won't let me do that. Yeah. My mind goes, that's foam. That's rubber. This is fake. That's a fake nose. This is fake eyes. This is fake. I hate fakes.
Yeah.
I don't like this. Get it out of there. Like, I've never wanted to have, like, a shoulder mount. Like, I look at them and I'm like, that's a doll.
Yeah.
It's not real. This is, to me, like nature's art. Like, to see a skull with antlers, even if I had just found that in the forest, like a dead head of an animal that had been killed by a mountain lion or something, when I look at that, it's art to me. I mean, I think I'm fascinated by just like there's so much beauty to this. I mean, just looking in the nasal cavity, and you see how
Everything.
complicated it is, and you realize like this is an animal that has to survive on its nose, how important its nose is, and you look at that enormous opening that it has for taking in scents.
Yeah.
You know, and then you see the eyeballs and how they rotate on the side of the heads, and they're like way off to the side so they can see things from both sides and behind them almost and in front of them. And just, I'm amazed. I just think they're fucking gorgeous.
Yeah, it is cool.
Yeah, that to me is way cooler than covering it up with a doll eyes.
It's also crazy that they just, no matter what it is, well, anything with antlers, grow back every year.
I know, it's nuts. Well, the elk is the most nuts.
Yeah.
Because it's so much.
So much. Was it like 5 inches? Not necessarily length inches, but in size-wise, 5 to 10 per day.
Really?
Of growth, yeah. Of essentially bone.
It's that quick?
Yeah. I mean, not
Whoa.
not like it could be,
Right.
you're taking like measurements
both
around
sides,
the circumference
all of it,
and then of the entire thing.
Yeah, I think I read that it's the fastest growing bone in all of nature.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. And you shot a giant one last year, right?
Yeah. It was,
And that was at New Mexico, the
It
one you're
was,
talking
yeah,
about?
yeah.
Was your hand broken back then?
yeah, it was. Yeah. Yeah, I was like, I had to get through the whole season without...
But
'cause
you use a wrist strap anyway, right?
Yep,
Which
yeah.
is probably good for that.
Yeah, I would
because
think
you
so.
pull back. You're not grabbing something with your hand to pull it
Right.
back.
Yeah, I wasn't doing lots of reps
Right.
pulling it back because you did feel it. Like there's a few times where you pop or do something weird, but yeah, I was still able to do it and just got through it.
Have you ever thought about reviving that show Apex Predator?
I have. I was like, that was one thing. I really enjoyed that show. I thought
a
it was
great show.
It was super cool, and I feel like it might have even been a little before its time in some ways, and just didn't
Yeah.
have the right support. And like it was like TV was like it was fairly expensive to make, and then like it was on a network that didn't want to spend a lot of money, and then that network it was like the network kind of peaked and started fall. It's like TV viewership went down and everything like that. So now everything's digital or on streaming services or something like that. But I would definitely love to do it again with the right, I don't know. There was a lot of interesting things that we learned doing it.
Yeah, a lot of
I thought-
interesting things I learned.
Yeah, it was one of the things like you do this, the hunting thing your entire life. And then I've just always been fascinated by nature and what nature teaches us, what it learns. There's so much crazy shit out there. I
Yeah.
think, you like think about aliens. I'm like, there's way weirder stuff here. We just are used to it.
Well, you told me about octopus.
Yeah,
I had
they're
no
crazy.
idea how bizarre they were. That became you were the source, absolutely, of my fascination with octopus.
Yeah.
Octopi. I guess you'd say octopi.
either one.
Octopuses.
Octopus, octopi.
But
Singular.
when I watched your show, first of all, you came on the show and you explained it to me. You're like, dude, they're aliens.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's things, even I feel like I know a lot about animals or a lot of different animals. And then one day I'll be like looking at something that I didn't know. There's an animal called the slow loris. I guess it's a venomous mammal.
What?
Didn't even know that existed. I hope that that's right because I just read that. I was like, how did I not know that? Unless I was reading you can't trust anything anymore. That's the part that sucks.
Right.
You just
A slow loris.
look at this thing.
Look at that thing.
Yeah, it can secrete venom.
Wow. But the venom is not toxic in all species. Interesting. There have been reports of people getting bit, but they are typically safe as pets. What? As pets? Bites from so it's kind of like almost like a sloth.
Yeah. I don't know how
looks
slow
like-
they are, though.
Bites
But-
from a slow loris can be extremely painful and have been known to cause illness and even death in humans in some circumstances. And they have pygmy slow lorises too. Wow, what a cutie.
Yeah.
Aw,
It's like a rattlesnake chinchilla cross.
look how adorable. Oh my God, that's the most adorable
Right?
creature I've ever seen. Look, he's holding a little piece of fruit going, please leave me alone. I don't want to have to use my venom on you. Aw,
Look
that
at
might
this
be the
thing.
cutest little thing I've ever seen in the forest.
Cute,
Aw.
but I like the description cute but deadly.
Yeah. Look at the baby one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, they look fake. The eyes look almost fake. Adorable.
Yeah, there's just some weird stuff out there. Every day I'm learning something
Yeah.
new.
No,
Some crazy things. And animals that specialize in something that you think, man, it's like there's technology that we don't even have yet that animals are just doing.
Yeah.
You look at nature and a lot of the things that we aspire to make, animals can just do.
Well, one of the things that I really loved about when you do the solo hunts and solo hunters, when you went to Africa and slept outside
Yeah.
and hunted solo with cameras. And I was like, that's a ballsy move.
Yeah.
That's like some Survivor Man type shit.
Yeah, that's what I mean, I love that aspect of hunting and survival and just kind of going out and living off the land in many ways. I don't know. I enjoy that experience of it. It's how I connect with nature.
Well, you also, when you do it, you take living off the land like fairly seriously. Like I remember the one hunt that you had in Nevada where you were essentially out of food.
Yeah.
And you were starving.
Yeah.
And you kind of purposely did it that way.
Yeah, I think I ended up going out and then ending it like the hunt wasn't going real well, so I had to stay longer. But instead of hiking out and then spending all that time, I just used what time I had and just didn't have any more food. So I just continued to hunt, in which case my body was really just eating itself. And
How many days did you do that for?
It wasn't. It was probably like a week worth of time, and the time that I ran out of food wasn't super long. But also, you're burning a lot more calories. You're hiking hard in high elevation, so my body is probably burning 5,000 calories a day in those kind of conditions, and then you just don't have those calories. And then I ended up shooting a deer, and then having to pack it out. I actually ate the heart, just raw there to get enough energy to.
You ate
get
it
out.
raw?
Yeah.
Was it the first time you ever did that?
No.
Yeah.
I've done it multiple times, many times actually. But there used to be this thing, kind of like when you shoot your first animal, you take a bite of the heart. That was like a traditional thing that people would do. And when I was guiding, I would, like, people that were new, I'd be like, okay, here, do this. And people would always be like, no, that's weird. And so I would do it. And I was like, nothing's going to happen. And then I had some guy, I told him about it, and he's like, cool. And he's like super, and he just bites the heart and takes the piece off, and he hands it to me, and I look at it, and there's parasites in it. And that was the last time I did it. So I didn't tell him.
You didn't tell him
No,
that there's parasites in the heart that he ate?
Well,
Oh,
see what
no.
happens. He'll be fine.
How was he okay?
Yeah, as far as I know. I mean, maybe he has heartworms now, but I don't really know.
Was I listening to Ranello's show? Someone caught trichinosis. No. What was it? Oh, toxoplasmosis. That's what it was. They caught toxo from eating deer meat.
Huh.
And I was like, that's crazy. Like toxoplasmosis is, I think it's called Toxoplasmosis gondii. It's a parasite that you get from, a lot of people get it from cats. And it's a very strange parasite because it rewires. It's one of the most bizarre parasites because it rewires the sexual reward system of rats. And it makes rats attracted to cat urine. And it makes them fearless. So the way this parasite it grows and spreads is inside a cat's gut. And the way it gets inside a cat's gut is to get into a rat first. So it gets into the rat first and tricks the rat into being horny for cat piss. So it goes where the cats are. And like you see them like literally chasing cats. And cats are like, what the fuck? And these are rats with toxo. And then the cat will kill the rat, and then the cat will get it into humans. It's either from, that's one of the reasons why they tell women when they're pregnant to never handle cat shit, never deal with cat poo, because cat feces can contain toxoplasmosis, and they can get into your system. It also affects people in a way that makes them more risk-taking. And there's a guy named Robert Sapolsky. He's... I believe, is he an anthropologist? I think psychologist and maybe an anthropologist. He does a lot of primate research. Sapolsky's been on our show before, but one of the things that he did was when he was a resident, one of the doctors that he worked with in the ER, whenever they get motorcycle victims, he would say, check them for toxo. And there's a disproportionate amount of motorcycle victims that test positive for toxoplasmosis because they think it makes them take more risks.
That's great. I never heard about that. That's
It's nuts.
insane.
Yeah.
That's another weird thing in nature.
It's
That's
not just
crazy.
weird, it's so prevalent. In areas that are like tropical climates and areas that have a lot of cats, they have a huge population of the people might test positive for toxo. Like in France at one point in time, more than 50% of the population was positive for toxo.
Really?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
And it's a parasite that affects the way you think.
Huh.
It affects the way you behave.
The fact that it sends the rats to the cats. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's some way. It's like it grows in the rat, and
Mm-hmm.
then it's like, okay, now a cat needs to kill you so I can live.
I think it needs to reproduce
Does it
in
reproduce?
cat gut. Is that what it is? I think that's what it is.
That's-
What does Sapolsky do? Is he a psychologist or an anthropologist?
Neuroendocrinology researcher and author, current professor of biology and neurology and neurological sciences at Stanford.
And he's done some amazing work with primates too, like amazing work with orangutans and or baboons rather, and some different primates, and just like studying the way they think and behave. But his work on toxoplasmosis was what drew me to him, because I remember reading about that. I'm like, what? Because I've had a lot of cats in my childhood, and I'm scared to test to see if I have it.
And once you have it forever. Is that-
Believe so. Yeah. I
Or
think
I
it makes
guess-
you a little reckless.
Does it? But it doesn't live in your brain.
Yes.
Oh, it does live in your
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah. It
Oh,
lives. Yeah. It gets it.
It's like a prion of some kind or something.
I think it infects a lot of tissue, but it affects your brain. Whoa.
Yeah, I'm looking up. I just typed it in with deer, so I'm getting a lot of the deer stuff. But there were reports in Canada, Wisconsin, and then I just scrolled down and saw 200 free-roaming cats and 444 white-tailed deer were tested positive for the parasite in Ohio, northeastern Ohio.
So the thing is, feral cats shit all over the place and piss all over the place. When they shit all over the place, deer can get in contact with their shit and they'll pick up toxo.
Gotcha.
And so then you will shoot a deer and you get toxo from that deer.
That's
So I wonder if that's like, if it's a deer near like
it's got to be near houses.
Yeah,
and
near houses and
farms,
pets and
other things. Yeah, like a lot of the places I hunt, I doubt I would contract that.
Right.
Just like mountains and
Mountain hunting
the
mule
backcountry
deer.
of
Yeah.
the mountains. Like
No.
there aren't many feral cats there. But
Have you ever seen the Australian bow hunting magazines that they show feral cats as trophies?
I have, yeah.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
It's weird. Green Tree gave me a magazine. He's like, mate, on your flight home, check this out. And
It's
I'm on a plane reading this magazine. I turn a page and there's a guy holding a cat up with a fucking hole in its chest.
Right.
I was like, might want to put this magazine away until I get home.
Yeah. That's another thing, man. They've got so many unique species, and feral cats are just wiping them out. How do you control that in the mountains and like just in the wild?
Well, in Australia, they have a giant problem with them. They don't know
Yeah.
what to do. I mean, they've wiped out ground nesting birds and so many different species there.
Yeah.
They pay people to hunt them.
Yeah.
I watched a documentary about this guy who hunts cats, and like his whole house is filled with cat fur. Like he's making like cat.
Yeah.
Have you seen that guy?
Yeah, he seems pretty crazy.
Yeah, he's making like cat fur like covers
Yeah.
for his duvet, and
Yeah, I saw that.
yeah,
that's
it's
weird.
something fucked.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think like it'd be most efficient to probably trap them in some way, but they're hard to probably get a control of the numbers.
Is there any place that you haven't hunted that you have like a goal to go to experience?
I don't know. I mean, I think there's lots of cool places around. I think that there's a lot of reasons to hunt different places. For me, I like that adventure of going somewhere new and like seeing that culture and connecting with hunters and places. It's like this is where they've been doing it a certain way for a very long time, and just kind of like learning from those people. There's places in Central Asia that I think would be pretty cool, and places that you don't really go to visit. It's like it's not a prime destination for vacation, right? So it's like, how do you even find your way into these places and explore these places and meet these people? And it's through hunting. So there's a few places like that I think it'd be cool to go and just kind of like experience that with those people. You see, actually, Mongolia is one of those places. I think they've got like a really cool nomadic culture, and hunting's obviously a part of that. They're moving because they're following food sources and don't have or for a very long time that permanent settlement. So it's like a nomadic culture. I think I'm very intrigued by that.
Well, I mean, that's a giant part of their history. Like
It is.
Genghis Khan, one of his whole things was that they didn't respect people that live in homes
Yeah.
because they lived in these felt tents, and people who didn't live in tents were pussies.
Yeah.
And that's how they thought of it.
Yeah.
It's really kind of wild,
It
like
is.
that attitude.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's just like it would be a cool thing to experience with some of those people.
What do they
They're
hunt
still-
over there?
I mean, they've got elk. They've got.
Do they really
yeah,
have elk
they
in
call 'em
Mongolian?
Marl stag. Yeah.
Oh wow!
They've got species of ibex, goats.
Whoa!
They
look
obviously
at
hunt
those
with the
fucking
eagles a lot.
Sheep. What
Yeah.
kind of sheep is that?
That's probably an Altai Argali, I think.
Look at the horns on that thing. Oh, there it is. Mongolian Argalis.
Yeah.
Look at the horns. Insane.
Yeah, those are pretty crazy.
Oh my God, it's amazing. That whole world of sheep hunters, that's a whole different world, huh? Look at that thing.
Yeah, ibex.
God, that's gorgeous. The antlers on that thing are intense.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. The hunting with eagles.
Yeah, they hunt with eagles. I saw them hunt
Yeah.
a wolf with eagles.
Yeah, wolves, foxes.
It's that whole sheep hunting thing is a strange subset of hunters
Yeah.
because it's a lot of rich people that
Yeah.
go on these bizarre, dangerous adventures to hunt sheep. And
Yep.
I was like, that's interesting that like somehow or another caught on with a lot of these like wealthy trophy hunter type guys.
Yeah, I think the opportunity it's an economic thing in a way where there's not a lot of there's not a lot of tags, right? So the price of that one tag just keeps going up. But the reason that price of that tag needs to be so expensive is that's what's helping the sheep populations come back.
Right.
It's there's no other management for these like very I would say like a niche species, a species that's living somewhere that needs a lot of resources of things like in the state of Nevada, actually, there's more sheep in the state of Nevada than any other sheep or any other state outside of Alaska, as far as the United States, and it's because of like hunter conservation dollars and projects and helping restore habitat with drinkers and water things and all that kind of stuff. And they'll auction off in pretty much every Western state one sheep tag, and some like the Montana one goes for $300 and something thousand. They raised. I think it was like the Wild Sheep Show this last year. They raised like $10 million, I think, at their banquets.
Wow.
For just sheep conservation. It's like, who else is putting $10 million to conserve something like that? And that's just one event. I mean, there's thousands of those events throughout the country, So it's like there's a ton of money going into the research and the restoration, conservation, all kinds of that, easements they're actually like one of the biggest threats to wild sheep is domestic sheep crossing and like giving them
brucellosis. And...
It's called MOVI. It's a form of pneumonia.
Oh.
And it'll wipe out it's the biggest threat to wild sheep populations. So you've got somebody that's been grazing sheep for 15 generations on whatever land. So they're actually going in and buying out grazing permits and all that kind of stuff. So those wild sheep populations don't encounter those domesticated sheep and building fences to keep certain domesticated sheep from wild herds. That's big projects right now. And even just studying that disease.
It's a weird subset of hunting though, because it's a difficult hunt.
It is, yeah.
But it's wealthy people.
Yeah.
That there's a lot of like old rich guys that go on this like incredibly dangerous, difficult endurance hunt.
For sure.
That's weird, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think this they like that. Well, just like anything, you get a certain kind of. It's a real adventure in some ways, where it's like you're pushing yourself to certain limits, and that's the way that they experience it.
Yeah, Brendan Burns and Jason Hairston, and they'd gone on one of those trips for Kuyu, and they were talking about like what they had went through, and I'm like, Hairston at the time was a millionaire, and he's out there like almost dying.
Yeah, you like punish yourself.
Yeah,
I don't know. For me, in some ways, I think it's weird, but maybe not everybody relates to it like this. But for me, it's like my enjoyment is through the suffering of it. Like I feel like if I'm gonna be out there, then I need to be hurting in some way. It's like this weird masochistic thing of like if I'm gonna kill something. You could go on a hunt. Like I could go out here in Texas, right? And I could go sit
in front of a feeder.
Yeah, and I could shoot a deer, and it's like, yeah, okay, well, it's providing the same end game, right? It's providing meat for myself, but it's not like I feel it's just not for me.
It's not the same.
It's like I want to kind of hurt in some way. I want to like experience it in some way. And I've like personally, if I go on a hunt, like I pick my hunts based on how difficult they are, because it's like I don't want the gimmies. And there are hunts where you go out and it's like it was easier than I expected or something, and I just don't value it as much. So for me personally, it's like, well, I'm going to go do those things that it's hard and I got to struggle for it, and it's just that I get that experience, and then I also get the same end result. Hopefully, I get meat that I get to take home and eat, and that's the way that I do it.
And it'll be a different experience eating that meat than if you just sat in front of a feeder.
For sure.
Like I don't even think of that stuff they do out here as hunting. I think of it as harvesting food, and there's nothing wrong with that. And if you want to eat wild game, that's probably the best way to ensure that you're going to get wild game. Set up in front of a feeder, and this is just a way to harvest food. And you're going to get it quick, and you don't even have to be in shape. But the difference between that and, like, the experience that I talked to you about Montana that turned me into a hunter, like, that was a difficult, arduous experience. It was days and days and days of hunting and hiking and glassing and freezing your dick off and climbing up to the top of a ridge and not high density of deer and, just trying to find them. Yeah. And then when we did find it, like the feeling of success after the difficulty is what makes it all worth it. If it was easy, like we got out of we got on a boat, we pulled over to the shore, like, oh, there's one right there. Bang, shoot him. Like, okay, that's hunting.
Right.
And it would be too easy.
Yeah.
Like you don't want it to be difficult because you want to suffer. You want it to be difficult because you want the success to be worth it because you suffered.
For sure.
If that makes sense.
It's like a weird reward thing that flips on in your head. Because as the hunter, I know that if you cooked an elk steak right now and I cooked an elk steak, and it's like you cooked an elk steak of an elk you shot and an elk steak of the elk I shot, the one that you took and like that entire experience is more rewarding. Like you're going to choose that elk steak. I mean, I live off wild game meat. But it's not like I go to, like when I go to a restaurant, I'm not ordering elk because it doesn't taste the same to me. It doesn't taste the same as something that I took or was a part of. There's even something that maybe it's like a certain kind of seasoning through sweat in some ways. Like the harder you work for it, the better it tastes because it's just that like reward factor.
Well, there's another element that comes into the play. It's like you have memories of the experience. And also, like, when I think of a wild game animal, like an elk that's penned up and that they feed and then slaughter and then serve to restaurants, I get bummed out.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me with cows. Like, when a cow goes to slaughter, I'm like, that's what they do.
That's what they're for.
But if someone's doing that like domestic deer, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
It seems horrible. I don't want to support that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I think for me, it's more just, I like the experience of getting it myself.
Are you still filming stuff for Solo Hunter? Are you still doing that?
Yeah.
Is that primarily where you're doing your filming stuff?
No, actually, I've been doing it more. I've got, I just started like last year, just doing my own YouTube channel. That way I can do stuff that's also not just self-filmed. So I'm still doing some of the solo stuff, but a lot of it goes on my YouTube channel first. Just like a Remi Warren YouTube channel. I was just starting to grow that.
Got to be the most difficult way to hunt. I mean, think about like bow and arrow is difficult. Bow and arrow traditional is more difficult. Traditional bow and arrow while you're self-filming, most difficult.
I think so.
And that's what you do sometimes.
Yeah. I love it. In some ways, though, I'm so used to self-filming now that it's easier for me to self-film than have somebody with me filming because I can control everything. Like I've done it enough where I feel like I've gotten really good at it. And for me, it's actually easier now to do the self-filming thing than to have somebody there filming with me. Unless it was somebody that had like the same hunting skills, which is really, it's like not really feasible to find somebody that does that and films or like does a good job filming too. So that part, for me, it's actually harder to have somebody following me around with a camera than for me to film myself.
Well, when I went hunting with Renell, the times that I've gone, one of the things that really struck me is what a shit job that is for the camera guys.
Yeah.
Because, like, they're A, not hunting, B, that's just a job, but they're there 24 hours a day.
Oh, it's
like there's no going home.
They got to do all the things everybody else has to do, but then also have the camera and try to capture something that and not mess it up either.
And how do you pay them by the hour? Are you counting
I
the
think
hour that they're sleeping on the ground?
No, it's that's all salary job. Like,
Fuck.
you get paid per contract on those kind of things, like
That
expedition
sucks.
stuff.
That's a sucky deal, unless you're one of those people that really loves it
Yeah,
and really loves, like, there are guys out there that love struggle. They love difficult things. They love being in difficult terrain and filming them and capturing it. Like, that's a passion of them, to capture, like, just get the most accurate visual representation of the experience of hunting.
yeah,
And of being in the wild. Like, Brandon Shockey's really good at that.
he's really good at it.
He's really good at that. He's like, he's an artist in that genre. Like, there's people that just sort of turn on the camera and point it in the right direction, and then there's people who, like, you see them in their work.
Yeah, yeah. And when people are really good at it, I mean, it's just like anything else, man. It's a craft. It's hard to accomplish.
Well, that's how I got into interested in hunting, is watching hunting television shows. Like, my wife had endured me watching television shows on hunting for years before I ever went hunting. Yeah. She's like, "Why are you watching that?"
That's actually one of the things. Oh, because when you first reached out to me, it was like, "Hey, I've been watching this solo hunter thing." I was like, "What? Why are you watching?" Like, you're like, "Man, I learned a lot." And that's the one thing I didn't even realize about solo hunters. People, the comment that I get is like, "Man, I learned so much." And I was like, "I didn't even know I was teaching you anything. I was just going out there doing my thing." And people like really liked that aspect of like, okay, I'm like seeing how you're doing something that maybe I've never seen it done in this way ever before.
Well, I really love solo hunter too, because when you're doing it, you're talking to yourself and you're talking to the camera, and there's something pure about that is just you alone out there. Like, I remember there was one where you were hunting and you stopped to go fly fishing, or you stopped to catch trout, and then you cooked the trout. Like, that was like your lunch that day. And I remember thinking, man, that's got to be a fucking cool experience. He's by himself. He's hunting, and he's like, let me just stop and catch a fish for the day. Yeah. And you catch that fish and cook it. Then you're back on the hunt again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, now there's that Alone show. That's really taken off.
Yeah, that's...
It's a little bit different, though.
Goofy.
Yeah.
It's, I like the real deal. Yeah. I like when you're just doing it.
Yeah, you're just doing, I mean, that's just, like, whether I had a camera or not, that's the exact thing I'm doing no matter what. And that's the thing that I loved about that is, there was just like, okay, I'm here, I'm documenting what I'm doing and taking people along for the ride, I guess.
One of the other ones that I really enjoyed of yours was when you decided to camp out in this ancient Native American site.
Oh, yeah.
That you had found on the hill, this abandoned site. Like, that was pretty wild.
Yeah, it was just like a windbreak. And I think they used them as blinds originally. So it was up on this plateau. I actually ran into, on a previous trip, an archaeologist that was up there. And they were thinking that might have been one of the first, they're around this lake, and they're saying, like, in that area, maybe one of the first, like, kind of, not like a semi-permanent place where they would keep going back to that place, like, during the summer. And then, you'd see that they'd build blinds, essentially. And then probably, my assumption was they'd build those blinds and then herd sheep, wild sheep.
Oh, towards them.
Yep. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, Remi. Well, listen, brother, it's always good to talk to you. Always good to catch up with you. If people want to get a hold of you, it's Remi Warren on Instagram. Do you use anything else? Do you use Facebook or
every social media? Yeah,
all of it. Remi Warren.
Remi Warren
and Remi Warren on YouTube. Remi Warren channel.
Remi Warren on YouTube. Yeah, and then Live Wild podcast if you want to.
Yeah, it's great. Your podcast is great.
Or hunting tactics or whatever.
Slowly but surely, people will be indoctrinated into your world.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, thanks, brother. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. All right. Bye, everybody.